Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special podcast that I'm doing. I'm doing an interview with patreon.com/Ben Saint.
Patreon.com/Ben Saint. That's what my mother used to say as she dandled me on her knee.
I real the inspiration for this came from me realizing that me and you have never done a just direct me and you collab before.
We have never collabed. We've never even had like a one-on-one conversation except through text. And we were gonna work on that thing. I don't know if I can. You mentioned you mentioned hiring me one time to draw an animatic for the Sword Art Online rewrite. But I guess that hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, I came up with this whole alternate version of Sword Art Online that I was excited about. And then as I was talking about it and stuff online, people kept telling me that that's essentially what Sword Art Online Abridged is.
Yeah.
Where their show is they're trying to like make it like a good they're trying to make a good version of the show, and but I'm sure theirs is completely different from mine because they're using assets that are in the show already, so there's only so much they can even do with it, whereas mine is like a total rewrite. And I haven't watched it yet, and that's kind of like the main thing is that as I was writing this, I kind of felt like I should know everything about Sword Art Online before I do this, like maybe I should read the books or watch SAO Abridged and like make sure I know that my version's unique and interesting.
Well, I really liked the idea of the project. I really liked the thought that I might get paid at all. It was pretty nifty.
Yeah, I mean, it could still happen if I ever get around back to it. It's just
I'll still be
I don't
on
know
board
how
if you
excited
ever do decide to do it.
Yeah, it's basically supposed to be like the Star Wars "What If the Prequels Were Good" videos by Belated Media was the inspiration. So, for our audience who might not have an image in their head, where he was doing like the animatic versions of his remake, and I was gonna have Ben draw them for me because Ben is really great at that kind of animatic work. Because you have these, you
were really excited about my the things that I drew in the Comics Jam at BronyCon that one year.
Yes.
You said you were really impressed by my swiftness in just churning out like multi-panel
I've been
bits.
impressed with all your work because of the fact that I think you have very dynamic panels. Like, regardless of you could draw something with no detail and it looks good because, like, you could draw a good stick figure drawing because you know how to frame stuff in these dynamic ways, which I think is the biggest weakness of most like internet artists, is that they know how to make things look detailed and like pretty, but the poses are terrible.
I agree. I think that a lot of comic artists like I go on Reddit r/comic crits a lot, and I'll see. I mean, some people are just terrible, obviously, but other people are like kind of good. But I don't know, there's one guy in particular, like, he posts and, like, he does really great pages, and they're really highly detailed, but, like, they're not interesting. Like, they're really, like, he'll draw, like, a monkey screaming, and he'll have, like, every, like, line in the monkey's face, and every hair on his face, like, painstakingly inked in, and, like, it's a gorgeous rendering, but, like, it's not any better, I think simplicity. I'm all about simplicity. I'm all about that Scott Pilgrim iconic simplicity.
Well, I think that's kind of one of the most interesting things for me about you is that you have like a very clear taste. I feel like me and you are alike in this regard, and not that we have the same taste, but that we have something very specific that we look for. Where for me, it's density. It's like I like for there to be as much going on at a given time as possible.
Yeah,
but I
like that too. I like things with a lot going on. But I really
think you also value brevity a lot.
I value. Well, I mean, the brevier something is, the denser it is. If there's the same amount of stuff in it, but it's briefer, then it's also denser. Right. That's why I like Fooly Cooly more than Ava, because I think it does more good in its 6 episodes. Like minute to minute, I think it's got more going on.
Yeah, and you tend to value this from YouTube videos as well, that you really like the shorter ones
I
and the
do,
ones that
and that's why I
get their
complain to
point
Jesse
across.
all the time that his videos are too long. They've
Right.
got like funny nuggets in them,
Yeah.
but then there'll be all this like ranty stuff, and I'm like, just get to the
Because I'm
good
willing to
part.
waste all day just sitting through every Jesse video, and like if one part of it makes me laugh, I feel like I didn't waste my time, but I also am not doing anything. So it's, but you're always like you like those little 3-minute ones, the ones that are just like a gem of like hardened gold,
Yeah,
and
I liked Manchild Marsh. It was like pretty
right.
concise. It had stuff going on throughout. It was always progressing.
And I think that's what attracted you to Devue's videos as
I
well.
love Devu. I love
Yeah,
his conciseness.
yeah. He definitely values that. He doesn't like to have to over explain anything for the sake of the audience, which unfortunately I've had to like talk him into adding more clarifications, cuz like when you're on YouTube, people just don't get it. Like,
Devu is
and
he's hard to understand sometimes. His point doesn't always
yeah.
come across that
Yeah, and
clearly.
I think it's a matter of like, you can be obtuse and some people will get it, and you're never going to make everybody understand. So you don't want to go too far out of your way to like over explain everything,
I
'cause
mean, best guy ever is that other extreme. Best guy ever
right.
explains too much,
Yeah.
and goes, yeah, and like I don't
But
know,
at the same
recounts the
time,
show.
it means that nobody watches Best Guy Ever's video and doesn't get it.
No,
Whereas
nobody doesn't get it. Although someone
yeah.
like me is like, just get to the fucking point already. What are you trying
Right.
to say?
Yeah.
I know this stuff. I don't know. Yeah, but
And
he
you're
says he writes his videos as like, I don't know. He writes them to be accessible, which I guess they are.
right. And I also think that another thing that me and you have in common is that the work we make very much reflects our taste. You have your artwork is usually pretty pared down. You like sparse dialogue. I've noticed a lot. There's almost never any like long dialogue sections in your comics.
I'll tell you what. I tell you what, Digi. This new one that I'm working on, Champion, is really wordy. Like I need to
Oh
go
yeah.
back and cut it down. Yeah, because there's a lot of like, there's a lot of. I mean, maybe it's just because the first chapter and I'm establishing the scenario, but like a lot of characters have to deliver a lot of exposition in this first
Right.
bit to like
Well, this is more of
fill in
a
what's happening. It's really
it's
wordy. Like
it's
some
a
of the
lot
pages
higher
are like half
concept.
words.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, there's more of an actual plot that needs
Yeah.
to be presented instead of the like
The
Devu
Vapors
said,
has
nothing really
almost
happened.
no dialogue. Like the Vapors is just like images of people being miserable or being terrible. And it's like
Yeah.
very I think it's kind of remarkable that you have the whole scene where like Vincent walks into the anime club or whatever it was.
The gaming club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gaming club, and completely no dialogue. We understand everything he thinks in that moment because he just starts fantasizing about himself with this girl and the A rank. And
Yeah,
he has, like,
the
this,
one
this epic fantasy of him with girls on both legs and stuff, and it's like you completely get his motivation, and there were no words there. So I think that's really impressive, personally.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I guess something about the story or what I was presenting with the Vapors, I just felt like dialogue wasn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know. I think it came out all right.
Well, I think that's what makes it kind of sets it apart from like because you've compared it a lot to Watamote.
Yeah,
As, like, the
Watamote
big
explains
influence.
itself very clearly though.
Right.
Which I
Watamote
think
is
is
always
yeah.
internal monologue and everything.
Which
Whereas
I think
yours
is honestly like I think in comparing Vapors to Watamote, that's like the big difference that stands out to
Yeah.
me. And that kind of made me want to make my next thing wordier cuz like the thing about the Vapors is it took me months to make and you can blast through it in like 5 minutes. You can
Yeah.
read the whole thing in like 5-10 minutes tops.
I think
Whereas
that's
if
always the biggest problem with being this kind of artist is like yeah, like because you're like you said you're doing like long. It takes a lot longer to make than it does to read, and I think when people read something that fast and it doesn't have like a clear punchline,
Yeah.
then they feel like they haven't consumed as much.
It
you
is
know?
the Vapors, like much like its name, the Vapors it's kind of insubstantial, It's like
Yeah.
it only takes like 5 minutes, whereas like the more words on a page, the longer it takes, and like the longer you're looking at that page,
Right.
it makes it feel more substantial. So I kind of wanted more words and more of a plot, things like
And
that.
I would say, like, when I first read Brunswick, I was like taken aback by how fast it moves, but
Yeah.
I think it still worked. And it was really interesting to me that, like, the emotional gut punch at the end was still so strong, even though I hadn't spent much time with the characters or talked to them at all. It's very self-insert, where, like, you have to put yourself in the mindset of the trainer and his, like, sort of cutthroat attitude and everything that he has, which I really love. I love that your characters are all dickbags. Like, that's the best part to me.
I mean, I didn't set out to make the trainer in Brunswick a dickbag, although he kind of is, but that's just because he everything he thinks is what I would think. So he's just kind of like, well, kill these guys, kill everything, whatever.
Yeah.
Brunswick, you're ugly, I hate you. Oh, now you're cool. Well, now I like you. I tried to give that, even though he's sort of a non-character, I tried to give him an arc of, like, he starts out being totally impartial to Brunswick and he only wants him for utilitarian purposes, and then he kind of gets, like you, the reader, hopefully, you kind of get attached to him as you spend a little more time with him. He grows into a big badass, and then you're like, yes,
and
but
it's
then
just
no.
the phrasing of how, like, he's so disappointed in it, but then as soon as he sees it, he's like blown away. Like, you're a badass is the perfect choice of words.
You're a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted it to, I don't know. I tried to make it a little goofy,
Yeah.
Like when Brunswick shoots the ice shards and just like skewers that graveler. He's like, ah, shit. I don't know. Yeah. I had more fun with it and with Brunswick.
Like, I worry a bit, and this is part of why I wanted to interview you. Like, I worry a little that your readers might not get where the comics are coming from as much. Where, like, for me, because I know you, and I've known you for a couple of years now, I've met you in person, and, like, the way these comics are is, like, exactly how you are. It's
I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad that you think that.
I think a lot of you comes through in these comics, and your general attitude towards the world, where you don't really hold anything on a pedestal.
No.
You have a very, like... what's the word I'm looking for? Not grim, but, like, cynical view towards other people and to yourself, and you're not easy to impress.
I'm definitely not easy to impress, and I'm very like I don't know. I guess I just see the world in a very pragmatic way, but like I've come to terms with it. Like I don't see that as a negative way to look at things. It's just how it's just the easiest way for me to deal with the world.
Well, it makes it great when because you're the kind of person who, when you pay a compliment to something, I always feel like it's like, yeah, I've done something great.
That's what I want. Like, I don't want to be willy-nilly with my praise or my criticism. I want it to, I mean, you talk a lot about authenticity. I try to go for authenticity and as much as I can.
I think that's a pretty common element among the procrastinators in general, is we're all very, like, this modern internet kind of person of kind of bearing it all, and we're not really, like, I don't know, you're more private in terms of, like, specific details of your life than maybe me or Jesse, who is like, here's a video of me eating a taco, like,
I think
this is what I did today.
Yeah, I think people... Yeah, I feel like I have a decent grasp of, like, your day-to-day life. Jesse's, like, not quite as much, but, like, I kind of have a foggy idea of it. I've been thinking about doing some, like, draw vlogs like Will Terrell does, where, like, he'll draw and talk at the same time. Just so I can try to, like, I don't know, I feel like people that even listening to the PCP, people don't really know, much about who I am. Like, yeah, like you were saying, like, you've met me in person and you kind of know what sort of person I am. I feel like a lot, like, no one else, I wouldn't expect anyone else to really know me except through my comics.
And I mean, for a lot of, like, I think for a lot of people, they wouldn't, like, what does it matter? Like, you're an artist, but at this, like I said, for me, so much of you comes through in the comics that it enhances it for me, where I really, like, especially with Brunswick, where the character feels so much like, I know this is totally what you went through, like, this had to be the exact thoughts you were having.
I mean, I've thought about this a lot, and, like, even though I haven't produced that many comics, I feel like there's a real strong thematic thread in all my protagonists.
Yeah.
Like Phantom Horn is basically Vincent, and Vincent
Right.
is basically Sophia. Only Sophia's in like this magical world of like bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all the same kind of dick, and
Right.
something about their like stories and the worlds they live in is that they're the only dick in a world of like otherwise nice people.
Pretty normal people.
Yeah, but they're the biggest dicks, but they're the most. They wear their heart on their sleeve.
Right. And they don't try to. They have this mental image of themselves as that they are great, and
Yeah.
everyone can see through it quite easily.
Yeah, but at least, but they're honest. You know, they're honest
Yeah.
about their disdain.
I think to get a little analytical about the Vapors versus Watamote,
Yeah,
I think Watamote much more invites the audience to say like, I'm totally like that. Yeah, this is relatable. And I think with Vincent, there's a little bit more of like being out, like you have to really how do I put this? With Watamote, she kind of makes it easy for you to say like, oh my god, I'm just like her, because she's like kind of a cute girl, and
Yeah.
she's kind of like, that's always been my biggest issue with the show, is just
Is-
kind of that.
Why would a cute girl be so unpopular?
Yeah, and I mean, they do a decent enough job of like, I love that when she tries to look cute, then she comes out looking hideous,
Yeah.
like the art definitely makes it like, okay, she looks fucking weird when she tries to like, dress up and stuff. But
Her normal mode looks pretty. I don't know, her normal mode looks pretty good though.
Right.
Just in that generic way that all anime characters just
Yeah.
kind of look cute no matter what they do.
And I think it's just it's very easy to be on her side and to sympathize with her. Whereas
I mean,
with
I hate her.
Vincent-
She's like, I think she's terrible.
yeah,
I'm rooting for her to get better.
right. I think
Yeah.
with Vincent though, it's a lot harder to be on to say, yeah, that's totally what I'm like.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
mean-
no, if you look at him and you're like, he's a real shit. But then if you have the strength of mind to then admit to yourself that you do have some things in common with Vincent, then it's like even more powerful, I think.
I mean,
In a way.
he's just like me.
Right.
He's just like me, Digi.
But he's
It's me.
But he's got the fedora and the
Yeah.
fucking, or the
He's like a caricature of like my younger self. He's like
Right.
he's like how I used to be, only worse. He's just the worst parts of myself.
I love how completely hateable he is. And
I love to hate him.
yeah, he's great.
He's yeah.
I connected with him pretty like I love Vincent as a character. Like, even though it was only 2 chapters, like it's just that the specific things you made the characters do were all so great. Like Magda turning on the shower with her clothes on just because she wanted to avoid people. Like, I
Yeah.
thought that was like a powerful image where I was like, oh man, that's heavy. And it's just one thing, but I completely get her character now. Like, I didn't need anything else.
I mean,
Um,
that's something that I have done myself. I've pretended to
Right.
be in the shower or in the bathroom just to wait for people to leave, just because I don't want to make eye contact with anyone.
Right.
When I'm feeling more antisocial than usual.
Yeah, I've been there in my own weird. I like if I have to take a shit in a public place, I don't want to leave while anyone else is in there.
No.
like I don't
No,
want people
God,
to see
that's
the
too
guy
intimate.
who took the shit. Yeah,
I don't like people hearing me in the bathroom. I like
Oh,
to
me
turn on the
neither. I can't
faucet
do
so
that.
no one can hear my gross body sounds. I
Right,
mean,
yeah,
that's so like I don't want you to know what my poop sounds like. That's
Yeah.
fucked up, dude.
I totally get it though.
Yeah. Nobody
and
gets
then,
it.
Of course, like with chapter 2, like of the Vapors, just the fact he was reading Infinite Jests made it so perfect. Like,
I mean,
that
yeah.
book was the optimal choice, and you yourself have read it.
I
and
had
carried
finished
it around.
reading it like a couple
Yeah.
months before, so like I know what it looks like when someone reads that book because like I was aware of it and like I picked it up to read based on that image that it has of being like this big like important quote unquote a fucking complicated thing,
incredibly long.
Yeah,
and it has
like
a title like Infinite Jest.
It's like if you finish it, if you read the whole thing, it's like a you can put a little feather in your cap because you're a cool smart guy.
Yeah. And the title is like that. It's that perfect mixture of like infinite, like all possibilities, and then jest. It's all a joke. It's like everything's a joke. It's like the ultimate irony,
True.
What's cooler than that level of irony?
But
Nothing.
It's also a Shakespeare reference.
Oh, I did not even know that.
That
just takes it to the next level.
I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's from Hamlet. It's probably from Hamlet.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Not a Shakespeare guy myself.
Shakespeare, he wasn't that cool.
I agree.
Unpopular opinion, I know.
Yeah. So I am consistently fascinated whenever you tell me about some of the things you've done.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I think you're a little older than the rest of the PCP, yeah? You're 28?
I think I am the oldest by like a slight margin. Like I'm slightly older than Tom.
Yeah. How old are you exactly?
I'm 28, yeah.
Okay. I think Tom's 27. I want to say it goes you, Tom,
Jesse.
Nate, Jesse, or is Jesse
Nate older than Jesse? What the fuck?
Jesse turned 26 this year, I think.
Yeah, I guess Nate's turning 26 next month, in like a month. Yep, shit.
Yeah, and I'm turning 25 in August. But yeah, you have like a bit like I think because the rest of us got into like for me, I got into YouTube kind of young, so I haven't had the opportunity to have done all these other things before settling into a career that involves being at my desk at all times.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of other stuff before YouTube in terms of like globetrotting.
Yeah, I did a lot. Like I went to school, like I went to college. I did thinking, and by the time I graduated, I thought I was going to be a scientist. So I majored in physics. But I also was kind of a cool, pretentious, intellectual dude. So I double majored in philosophy, because that's fancy.
How many years were you in college for?
4. I just did
it like right out of high school.
Yeah, just did the usual, graduate high school, 4-year degree, bada bing, bada boom.
Okay.
And, so I went for physics, got my physics degree, and then the first job I had out of college was teaching at Astro Camp, which is like space camp but on the West Coast and up in the mountains of Southern California. And it was all about taking kids on nature hikes and telling them about constellations and stuff.
Like, did they like fly you out there for that job? Because you're from Boston, right? Or outside Boston?
Near Boston, yeah. They, I think they paid for my ticket. And they flew me out. They flew me out there to this and drove me up to this mountain and were like, "Well, you're here for 6 months." And I said, "Cool." And then all these classes of kids. Every week, a new fucking bunch of kids would come, and I would pretend to like them. For however long it took to get them to go away.
Had you been living at home like in college and everything? Or?
No, I lived the dorm life. I had a rose colored campus life, Digi.
Okay. So did you and Nate ever like go to the same school at the same time or something?
Yeah, he was like a freshman in high school when I was a junior. So yeah, we were in the same for 2 years of elementary and 2 years of middle and 2 years of high school. We were in the same school. Okay.
Because I've had the impression that you guys had a lot of the same friends, like in college and stuff like that.
I became friends with 1 or 2 of his friends, and like he has met a few of mine. But like we had our own distinct friend groups though.
Because like I've got Victor and Shade, and me and Victor just have one.
You guys all have like a big cadre, is the impression I get.
Well, Shade has his own friends because he's, much younger. He has a few friends
Yeah.
that we don't really. I mean, his friends know our friends. They hang out, like they're right now actually hanging out playing board games downstairs. But like, there's a little bit more of a divide. But yeah, because our house is the meeting place for everybody, then anyone who knows one of us ends up knowing all three of us. Because Shade is 6 years younger than me, so he's quite my junior. But yeah, I was always curious about that because, like, when Nate was talking about the guy who called you the King of Fives or whatever in college,
Fucking asshole. Yeah, that's one of my friends, but not anymore. I'm gonna go tell him that I hate him. I will destroy everyone.
But you had a great counter argument that he himself is the real
that guy,
King of Fives.
That guy likes fat chicks.
Yeah,
I happen to know.
So maybe his
fact.
entire scale is off.
Yeah, definitely.
So all right, you taught at Astro Camp, and so what did you do after that?
Well, I learned how to expand marshmallows with the vacuum pump, and then I moved home. that was what they taught me.
4-year physics degree.
Yep. Hey kids, look how big this marshmallow gets when I suck all the air out. Oh yeah, and then I went back to Boston and I got a job in like a lab, and I had this really cool.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
did you have a lab coat?
Yes, I wore a lab coat.
Oh, you fucking badass! That's awesome.
I had to get decontaminated when I went into like the lab work area. I had I operated an electron microscope and shot electrons at the head of a pin to like determine the radius of its pointiness. I did lab tests and stuff. Oh man, I used some devices that really looked like some high science, some super science shit, some like weird glowing rings.
Oh god,
man.
that sounds awesome.
It was. Well, that one was like specially designed so you could see the interior because it was a mirror sputter coater for like making mirrors and shit. And what you had to do was you put the silicon disc in and then you like fucking superheat it to a plasma so that it spits off atoms and they coat the stuff you put in there. But when you open it up and look at it, it's like, yeah, it's giving off this like weird pink ring of light.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. But it was boring though. It was a boring job, honestly.
Okay. If I asked you to explain what kind of stuff you were doing, would I be able to understand?
No. I mean, the day-to-day things I was doing. Yeah, it was like it just I just had to like put samples in this thing, and then this thing would like it would take this pin and like scratch across the mirrors we'd made, and like the pressure it applied would change, and I would have to record like at what pressure did the mirror coating start to like break and peel off. And this was like, yeah, that was the majority of what I actually did. So that's actually pretty easy to understand. Like the fucking
I just don't know why you were doing it.
the like quantum excitement of the atoms that leads to the sputter coating process is like, even I don't fully understand it, but yeah.
Okay. So you worked in a lab for a while.
Yeah, about 6 months.
How long would you say? Okay.
I was there for about 6 months. It was just like an intern position, like I wasn't salaried. And I guess I didn't do that great a job, because after a while they were like, "Well, your internship's over," and I said, "Okay, I'm gone then."
I'm just like, I'm thinking about, all right, history of the PCP.
Yeah.
We've got Jesse, who I know went to college for a while. I think he dropped out. I don't know if or what jobs he's ever had other than YouTube.
He worked on like a farm, right?
Jesse?
Yeah, he told me, or as like a lumberjack or something. He told me he worked with like his uncle on a farm.
Oh, I think he worked for his dad doing something like that. Maybe he was. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's never really told me about his. Surprisingly, I don't know what his previous job was.
He's definitely mentioned that before, but I don't remember the details.
I know that Jeff. I don't know if he had any normal jobs, but I know he wrote for a gaming magazine, an internet gaming magazine. Devu.
Yeah.
Uh,
Works for his dad as a window cleaner.
yeah,
Or
cleaning
did.
windows and gutters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then we've got you who worked in a laboratory doing physics experiments.
Yeah, I'm an actual fucking
Oh,
scientist slash engineer.
and I worked at Target. That's my that's
Well,
my background.
it was real boring. Like, even though the machines looked really cool, the job was quite dull. So I wasn't too sad when they fired me. Uh,
What did you
and
get fired for?
just like,
Not being needed.
just the. It was just that like the internship period ended and they didn't. I guess they weren't impressed enough with my performance to keep me on as a full-time dude.
So where did you go after this?
Let's see. I got some job working as like a document editor for some I would just fucking go through and like control F and like find typos and stuff in like textbook documents, and that was really easy. It was really easy for me to just over-report how long editing any particular document took, and then they would pay me more than I actually deserved. It was great.
See, this is why I love talking to you, because you do, like, those kind of things seem to come naturally to you that
sneaky fucking
yeah.
shit.
Well,
and,
because, like,
and screwing people over? Absolutely.
I think for I don't know. I doubt this has to do with the age difference because you're not that much older than me. But like, I feel like for a lot of us internet kids, a lot of us are more like goody two shoe kids who the reason we stayed inside is because we never did anything wrong. You know, like we were scared of getting in trouble. Like that's kind of for me, anyways. Like I grew up, you very like not break any rules kind of guy. You know,
I was like that too as a kid.
Yeah.
And up through like college, like I never smoked a cigarette until like, you know, late in college and
Right.
stuff. When I got into college, I actually voluntarily signed up the first year to live in the substance-free dorm.
Oh.
That's how much of a fucking idiot I was. Of course it didn't actually stay substance free, but I was like, I'm not gonna drink at college. I'm gonna be on the straight and narrow. Yes, sirree.
Yeah.
But you know, now I have a more pragmatic way of looking at things, and like,
right.
uh,
I just have that like that deeply ingrained fear of like if I misreport something, then you know what if it does go wrong, or just generally I'm just like too honest. Like I can't bring myself to lie about that kind of thing. Like even if I think I should, you know, like I'm not the kind of guy who thinks that you're always morally in the right by not fucking anybody over. You know, sometimes maybe they deserved it and you deserved better.
I mean, they're a company, right? And I'm a
Right.
person. My moral value is higher than theirs. So
Yeah.
fuck them. That's my opinion about
I don't
everything,
disagree
basically.
necessarily.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how this is like a real stretch of an example, but I just did this video about Kanye West's album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and I was saying how I can't bring myself to buy it because I know he has so much money,
Right?
and like his record label has so much money. Where like, because it's like I want to buy it on vinyl, but it's $35, and every time I see it, I'll look around the store and I'll see like an artist who I know needs that money a lot more, and I'm like, all right, I'd rather, or with like Patreon, you know, I only patron people who like make less than me or who make an
same.
amount
That's why
I'm
I
comfortable
unpatroned.
with, you know.
I unpatroned Nate because he passed me, but then I went and fucking passed him again. So I should probably repatron him.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people I'll patron just because I really, really love their work and I couldn't bring myself not to be a patron, you know. But like, when people like I'm as much as I love Red Letter Media and I watch all their stuff, like they have enough money, you know,
Yeah.
on their Patreon, as far as I know, anyways.
I don't even. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Red Letter Media.
Right. But yeah, I kind of have that, like, I'm not necessarily stealing from Kanye by not buying his album, even though I
No.
do, you know, listen to it all the time. It's more of a, like, I don't know. I don't believe that that quote unquote stealing music is stealing anything, because there's no product that's being lost. There's no loss of money for the recipient, you know. If I download an album I was never going to buy, then there's no profit loss. But yeah, I think it falls into the same kind of mindset that you have of like, fuck the bigger guys.
If someone's rich, and this is even if it was a person. I mean, a company is not even a person, but even if it's like if someone's has a ton of money and you take their money, you do way more good for yourself than you do harm to them.
I would agree.
I think everyone should always be punching up all the time. Everyone should always be trying to tear down the people that are above them. I'm coming for you, Digi, by the way. I'm fucking on your ass. I'm gonna destroy you.
Regular Robin Hood over here.
Yeah, that's right. Well, like
except
Hippo
you don't
said,
give it to anybody. You just give it.
Yeah,
to
like
yourself.
like Hippo said in the Sly review. He said they rob from the rich and keep for themselves because they're not idiots.
Yeah. I don't remember that line, but that's great.
Yeah.
I love your
Classic
Hippo voice there. Was like, oh, it's spot on.
Because they're not idiots.
Yeah. All right. So after you did this job,
I only worked as an editor for probably for another 6 months. My life comes in very clearly delineated 6 months or 1 year chunks all the time.
Mine is similar. Mine's 3 months though.
6 months for me. Sometimes they double up though. And then I quit that or got fired or something. I don't know. And then I answered an ad for a physics teacher in Poland. So I went to Poland for a long time.
So that was just for an ad, just some
random...
random...
there was just a Craigslist ad that were like, hey, we need a physics teacher over in Poland. And I was like, hey, I have a Polish last name. I'll probably have an in. They'll probably be like, hey, yeah, let's get this guy. We can understand what the fuck his name means.
Yeah, spoiler alert for the audience. Your last name is not Saint.
No, it's a pen. That's my pen name.
Yeah, Ben Saint is a pen name.
My real name is a bunch of Polish gobbledygook.
Yeah. It's not... Neither of you and Nate do not have the most attractive last name. I would certainly say that pen name was the right way to go.
Unattractive, but it's
hard to fucking pronounce. I don't know how to
spell.
Say
it's
it.
impossible to spell. It's hard to pronounce. I'm not too partial to it, but so I answered that ad, and then I went to Poland, and I was a physics teacher, and that was cool for 3 months or so. But I guess some of the kids liked me, but I guess enough of them didn't, that when they all got polled about how do you like your teachers, my ratings were overall negative, so they fired me, which
Ouch.
Honestly, I hate teaching. I hated it. I hated teaching at Astro Camp. I hated teaching these fucking Arabs. They were all Arabs, by the way. They were all a bunch of Saudi Arabian kids that were studying in Poland. For some reason, I have no idea. I don't know why it was set up this way, but it was. Anyway, I hate education. I don't believe in education. After having done some of it myself, I no longer believe that formal education is even a thing that anyone should do. Yeah, it's dumb.
I'm very down on the entire school system. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it works well for most people. I think everything after middle school is fucking useless.
Even if college was free, I wouldn't necessarily recommend everyone do it. That's
I just think we
dubious I think it is.
I think everybody should be in trade schools. Fucking find a thing you're good at and do that. Because college is so much general knowledge, and it's people going to college just to get a degree to get a normal ass job that it's raising the hiring standard above what it even needs to be in some cases. I think where I don't know. I feel like college and high school do not teach the discipline that is what people need for regular jobs. We get someone who will say hey, we've got an open desk job. Let's hire the guy with the college degree and not the guy with just a high school diploma. But I don't think going to college teaches you the things you need for that job. I think we should have something that's more of a teaching you how to have work skills,
I mean, for me, I can't complain too hard because I honestly do believe the old line that everyone says that even if you don't learn, even if you don't go into a field that matches your degree, it's an edifying experience, and it's the experience of college, and all this broad learning. My school was a very broad liberal arts education.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel do I feel like it like culturally enhanced me and edified me and improved my life? Honestly, yes, but like only in a very like unpragmatic and sort of very lofty and like
Right.
hard to define kind of way. The sort of way that is really a privilege that I'm able to even like find any value in, you know?
Yeah, that's what I mean by, like, I think instead of college or instead of high school even, it should be work training, like how to have discipline to do jobs and how to have the mindset to talk to other people. Like, as opposed, like, because you do learn those things kind of incidentally in high school and college. It's like, yeah, you learn that because people, whenever they say like, oh, it's the experience of meeting other people and working in groups and stuff, I'm like, then why don't we have school for meeting people and working in groups as opposed to
Yeah.
like world history class that no one needs to know? Just teach a class on working in groups and
But you have to. I don't know if that would work. You have to be doing something. Like you can't just work in a group for
Do
the sake of
something
working in a group.
productive,
You
like-
you have to do something.
Make
there
it
has to be
a-
some goal.
like make it so instead of the world history class, let's say it's a class where we have to build something together as a team and it has to be finished by the end of the month, and it's something fucking practical that we will all need this skill in 5 years. Like, how about we have just a whole class dedicated to building a car? Like, everyone has to learn how to work together and build a car. And now everyone who graduates high school knows how to fix their fucking car forever. That would be great. Much better than knowing world history would be knowing how to fix a car.
I mean, I'm one of the rare people who actually did use all that fucking math and science that everyone says they'll never need out of high school.
Right.
So,
Well, that's
I
why
mean,
I picked
I
world
like
history.
my education. Yeah. No, I never used my world history except I don't know, to not look like an idiot at parties or whatever.
Right.
I mean, that's what it's for, right?
Yeah.
That's what knowing history is for. It's so that you'll be culturally up to date and not look like an asshole at parties.
Right. Which you're going to anyways, because there's going to be some dumb shit you don't know.
Eventually you will.
Yeah.
But the more you know, the less likely it is at any given party that you'll go
So-
home in tears.
So, all right, you finished your working in Poland. Where'd you go from here?
Oh, yes. Well, they fired me for bad student reviews. Fuck 'em all. And I was like, well, I saved up some money, and here I am in Europe, so it's time to have an adventure. And I just, like, hopped on a train and, like, traveled across Northern Europe. And I went north to Estonia for New Year's Eve because a dude... Actually, funnily enough, a blogger that I followed back when I was into the whole pickup artist thing, because I was into that for a while. But this guy Roosh,
You and Nate both with that stuff. You guys
I
both
did
have like
it
a red
first.
pill background.
I bought him. Fuck off. I bought him. The Tucker Max book because at the time I thought it. I mean, I don't think I would like Tucker Max as much if I went back and read his work now. But at the time, like, I was kind of coming out of college and I was like, yeah, fucking bitches and money and yeah,
Right.
I know, I see how the world really is. And Nate was still this fucking
Yeah,
goody
red
two
pill,
shoes.
literally.
Yeah, sorta. It's embarrassing now, but that's how it is. Yeah, so I got him. I tried to like gently nudge him in that direction because I was sort of embarrassed to see what a nice boy Nate was at the time. But anyway, yeah, in Poland, at a total happenstance, that guy Roosh was there, and I met him and was like, "Dude, I follow your blog," and he was like, "Oh, cool." And he told me that I should go to Estonia for New Year's, and I did, and it was a great fucking party. And then I just went south, and I went west, and I went to Germany and France and England and Ireland. And then I flew back to Poland just in time to catch a flight home to America, but not before stopping in Sweden, where they told me that I overstayed my welcome and I had to pay them 700 euros.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I was fined because I exceeded the like legal, how long I was supposed to be abroad. I just didn't pay attention. Yes, I paid out the ass for that.
I had to do that when I went to the Philippines because, I went there for a month and, like, this is fucking stupid. I landed there, I get through, like, I'm going through customs, And the guy is like asking me how long you're gonna be here, and I'm like, well, for a month, like that's what it says on my ticket, right? And he's like, well, are you gonna be like working here or whatever? I'm like, no, I'm just here to visit. And he's like, well, I'm gonna mark you for 3 weeks, and you can come back and get an extension later. And I was like, why? But the guy was like a total like hard ass, like one of those like bureaucratic, doesn't look you in the eye, just fucking writes what he wants to write on your shit. So he gives me a 3 week stamp. And of course I don't go back to get it renewed. So then like when I'm leaving, like I'm about to fly out of the country, and like the lady at the desk, like to give me my ticket, is like, oh, you overstayed your welcome, so there's like a $75 fine or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why? Literally why? And it was like fucking 5 a.m, and like all I had on me was
They were just like, just make $75 appear or you're not going home.
right. Well, all I had on me was like bank checks, and like I didn't have enough Filipino money. I had like a bunch of American money and some Filipino money, and they didn't have any open banks there. And I was like, the bank's not even going to open before my flight. So like this like police officer, like really young police officer guy overheard me, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll just exchange my money for yours. And like, he didn't have like even distribute. I think I gave him like almost $20 extra just because I didn't have the right bills to break, and I was just like, I don't fucking care, dude. I need to get out of this. Like, I need the money so I can leave. You know?
Yeah, dude. They were. Yeah, I said Sweden before, but I meant Switzerland. Yeah, it's like I couldn't not pay. Like, I had to fucking get out of this predicament and fly to America.
700 euros though. What was the conversion rate at the time?
Or maybe 500. I don't know. A euro is like $1.50. So it was a lot. Like, it was kind of a big fucking deal, or a big illegal thing. I was a traitor to the America. They were after my ass. Oh yes. Yes, and I went to Amsterdam, and I smoked weed outside, and then someone was like, hey, you're not really supposed to smoke weed just, like, out in the open, and I was like, ah, shit. Then why am I even here, then? I don't even like weed, I said, fucking throwing this giant fat blunt I had just purchased for an outrageous price into the ground, and accidentally burning a prostitute in a red box door somewhere. That all happened.
That's
oh god.
So then you came
Oh
back
man,
to
and while I was there, yeah, let me tell you about when I was working for the teaching company. They paid for my apartment. They got me this fucking for like the price for like $500 a month was about what it cost. There it was 1,500 zlotys a month. But it was like the swankest apartment. It was like this high-rise fucking giant like studio, like beautifully furnished with a big like full balcony. It was like, it would have been like thousands a month here, but it was just in such a shitty piece of shit Eastern European bloc fucking like racist ass city in Poland with fucking white pride symbols fucking spray painted all over the town. Oh yeah. I mean, it was a college town. It was a little bit metropolitan. There were colleges there, but like the Asian kids that went to college there would get hassled all the time, and like my Saudi Arabian students would occasionally get hassled by people who were like, "Yep, not white. Well, don't care for that, no sir."
Jesus Christ.
But my other teacher guy was like this guy who apparently, I guess he had gone to high school with LeBron James. And he had been in the NBA he was a giant black man. He was like 7 feet tall. He was enormous. Nobody hassled him due to the fact that he was physically terrifying. He was an okay guy. He was really boring. Like, all he ever talked about was money. Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, we talk about money a lot, but we do it in a cool way.
Yeah, it's cool when we do it. It's not cool when basketballers do it. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I was just intimidated by his massiveness. Oh, that guy was real popular. That guy had sex with girls.
Oh, but Ben, you've always been I've always gotten the impression that you've been well laid in your life.
Well laid.
I couldn't think of a better.
Well laid. Oh man. All right. Well, like, not in a while. I mean, I've been working. I've been drawing like every day, or trying to draw every day all day. So I haven't had a girl over in a while. I guess like a couple months ago, I had a few Tinder things.
I would say that compared to the entire internet, you have more of a normal, healthy sexual. You're well laid. I don't know how to phrase this.
God's
like
sake.
you don't. You're not like me, who had one girlfriend one time and hasn't had sex in 2 years, nor had at any time before that. Like,
let me tell you my tragic backstory, Digi.
Okay.
When I was in college, and like I guess I lucked out because like I mean, I never had a girlfriend in high school or anything. I never even kissed a girl in high school.
right.
And I got to and I got to college, and just as luck would have it, I met a girl who had she was another freshman like me, and she had just broken up with her boyfriend back home or something. There was like a little bit of drama where like she wasn't quite broken up with him when we first met each other, and it bothered me a lot. But whatever, she eventually dumped him, and we dated for like 3 years, right? And we were very much in love and stuff, and we loved each other a lot, and it was beautiful, and it was fucking boring, and it sucked, and I said, that's it, I'm done. You didn't do anything wrong, but I'm breaking up with you. And she was like, oh, that hurts my feelings, and I said, I figured, but goodbye. Yeah, it was all very sad and emotional at the time, but now I don't care. Yeah, and that was the only like real relationship I've ever had. Ever since then, it's just been like, well, I met a girl who's cute, and maybe I'll have sex, and maybe even more than once. But if not, that's fine. Yes, nothing matters. That's the moral of the story.
I don't know if I want to.
I'm way happier now. I'm way happier not caring about anyone. Right. It's awesome.
Well, I don't know if I want to get too specific about it, but I was extremely impressed with your performance at BronyCon 2 years ago.
I did have sex at BronyCon.
Just because it was like, because we were all,
that is true.
We all went to BronyCon, and BronyCon's this weird duality where all of us want to hang out together, but also everyone really wants to use the opportunity to try to get laid.
Nate was very explicit. Nate told me before the con, he was like, it's always been, I really want to get laid at this con. Like, it's always been my dream to get laid at a con. And I was like, cool, man. And then I did, and he didn't. And I mean, I felt a little bad, but mostly it was hilarious.
Believe me, every con I've ever gone to, I go into it with the mindset of like hoping it's going to happen, but I don't make things happen. Like, I
used to go to con. I used to want to do it at cons. I did not have any expectations of getting laid at BronyCon, though. And maybe that's why it happened, because like I really wasn't looking for it or anything.
But I think like in the time I've spent with you, like I think I said this before, that I consider you the most personable of the procrastinators.
You did say that, and I find that weird, because in the chat I feel like I'm always naysaying and criticizing. Like I feel like I'm very negative, like in the chat, but like not so much on the actual podcast.
Right.
But, like,
well, I think in the chat, we're all friends, so us being negative to one another is not like anything special or different. I think, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, when you call out Jesse, then he goes on a whole fucking tirade because it's Jesse. If you imply that he's not perfect in any way, then he's gonna have a whole fit about it, But for me, like, if you were to, I mean, you don't really criticize me often ever, but like if you were to, I'd be like, yeah, you're right, like I trust your opinion on my work, or not to say your
work is so consistent, like
right.
It doesn't really tend to veer off in like new directions that like I need to point out like what are my thoughts on them.
Yeah. But also, like, and I'm not saying I would change anything if you criticize me, but just that I understand your taste well enough that like when you criticize Jesse's work, it's not at all surprising to me, because I know what you value, and I know that you don't necessarily value everything he's putting out. So, like, not to say that there's anything wrong with him continuing to do the work he does, because obviously
Yeah.
people like me enjoy it, but, like,
A lot of it, just a lot of it is not to my
right.
taste at all. It's like
So,
some of it is the exact opposite.
yeah. So, I think that's fine, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but when I say personable, I more mean that out of anyone, I think if if each of us were to walk up to a random person and try to talk to them, I think you'd have the best luck. That's what I mean by you being the most personable. Where
Maybe.
I think
I'm not terrible at talking to people.
because I won't talk to anybody unless they talk to me first. I don't walk up to people. I don't initiate conversations. You know, when I'm at cons, I never get any pictures of the cosplayers I want to unless they're like right in front of my face and I get the chance to go, "Hey, can I take a picture real quick?" You know? But like I won't walk up to people. I won't initiate conversations unless there's like a really good strong reason. Like they're doing something that like I really want to say something about. But you know, when I go to conventions, I'm surrounded by people and I'm not talking to any of them, you know, because for me, like I don't ever expect to go into a conversation and it to be like good. You know, I wait for other people to want to talk to me and then I talk to them. But I don't pursue it. And so even though there's usually a lot of women that I have the opportunity to talk to at conventions, I don't end up doing it because I'm waiting for them to try to talk to me, which they're not going to do because they're women and they don't do that like most of the time.
I mean, I've said it. I keep coming back to this, I feel like, but yeah, the whole pickup thing. Back when I was into that, like part of that was like go up to strangers and like hit on them. Yeah. And like I did a lot of it, and I guess it was good because yeah, I don't feel a lot of like it's a little nerve-wracking to like strike up a conversation with a stranger, but like I've done it enough times that I guess I'm kind of good at it.
Right.
And I don't feel embarrassed, like I don't know, like maybe I'll say something and they, even if they don't care and want me to go away, I'll just be like, well, you know, I tried. You know,
yeah, I mean,
I don't take rejection personally.
To speak for Nate, like, I've observed him because you know when we go to cons, I observe you guys a lot and try to like.
Sure.
I like to pair people's actions with how they've described themselves. You know, like figure out where the discrepancy is and things like that, or just like, I think a lot of you comes through in your art, and with Nate, there's this duality of what he's trying to present himself as and what he actually sees himself as. And it comes through a lot in his videos where it's always like the self-aggrandizing persona and then there's always the nerd underneath.
The character, he's told me a bit about some of the future videos he's going to do for Best Guy Ever. And yeah, it hasn't come through quite as much so far, but like in the upcoming ones, like the whole character of Best Guy Ever is that duality of like a character who presents himself in this like aggrandized way, but is actually this fucking dweeb.
And I mean, he built up to
and
it
kind of knows
with
it.
Keg's standard, where with Keg's whole review of that one Pony episode was that like he was originally this dumpy nerd, and then he decided to become an alpha bro. You know,
she's like, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be cool no matter what it takes.
But I think that the Keg standard more successfully became the alpha bro than the Best Guy Ever character, who's more like
he just kind of like is just sort of barely hiding it.
Right.
He hasn't really changed.
I think that's exactly what Nate is like. And like when I see him in person, like when he tries, because he always talks the big pickup game, like he's gonna go and talk to all the girls and be the charismatic guy. But then when we're all sitting around, he's like the one who's like, should I do it? Should I go up and talk to that girl? What if I went up and talked to that girl? And you can tell he's really nervous. And I love that his art, when he drew that one, do you remember his scissor picture in the Procrastinators drawcast?
Yeah, with the heads and whatever.
Yeah, well, the way it was like sweating and looked all nervous and like Nate gravitates towards those kind of pictures a lot. Like he loves
Like of
memes.
people looking nervous.
Yeah, people having that like sweaty like oh god, am I about to do something completely fucked up? And that's exactly what he looks like to me when he's in social situations. Is like that like I have to do that. Like he knows that he has to be this charismatic character in order to succeed, but it's all like forced. He has to make it happen, you know. That's just my impression of him anyway.
I think part of it at BronyCon, like, yeah, I think he has sort of had more writing on it reputation wise. Like he kind of has this like character of being, you know, this keg standard best guy ever, like this kind of cool pick-uppy guy. But like because he's got that persona, it's like it's more important that he not fail, you know? I think that is maybe the source of some of it.
With you, for you it's more like I don't feel like you have that same anxiety. I see you walk up to somebody and you just kind of start talking to them. Like, especially artists, because I saw you talk to, like, everyone who you saw drawing almost. It felt like you were talking to them at BronyCon, you know?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is an easy in for being someone who draws. You can easily have something to start a conversation with, but is that not how you ended up getting laid at BronyCon? Because the girl was also an artist, and...
I don't really remember exactly like how I met her or what we were doing, but yeah, she did end up hanging out with me and Munchie,
right?
And we all drew together when we did the comics jams,
right?
So that probably was part of it or involved in it. I don't know. I'm just a wicked cool guy.
Yeah, I was
Everyone
just really
wants to hang out.
Really fascinated watching how for you it seemed like talking to other people was kind of natural and easy. For Nate, it was like something he had to like force himself to do. And for me, it was just I gave up before I started. I didn't talk to anybody, you know. In spite of constantly talking to people who are walking up to me, but I'm not pursuing anyone. I'm not like going up, you know. Like there was all those like when cuz there's these two cosplayers who one of whom Jesse is currently dating.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And I almost had sex with the other one, the hotter one.
So you did,
but I didn't because the other one, because that girl that Jesse knows, she fucking came in and interrupted us. Oh, that was the angriest I've ever been.
Because I thought I was really fascinated that girl, the Pinkie Pie cosplayer, we all agreed that she was super hot, and nobody even tried to flirt with her. I guess you did, because I didn't even. Yeah, I didn't see that.
I spent it was so arduous. The process that I went through to try to sleep with that Pinkie Pie cosplayer. I had to walk like blocks and blocks back to her place. We got lost. I was sweating profusely because we were outside in the heat walking around. It was terrible.
Actually,
I don't want to describe the emotional gauntlet I had to go through once we were actually there. It was a fucking nightmare. But it finally was panning out. And then fucking what's her name and their dumb brother or whatever come through the door, and I'm like, oh no. And I hung out. I stayed there for like another hour or 2 hours, like hoping that the opportunity would reemerge. But no, it didn't. I felt like it was some kind of conspiracy. Like the two of them had agreed ahead of time, like let's make Ben think he's got a chance here, and then just fuck with him, you know? Let's just ruin his day.
That was the second BronyCon though, right?
That was the second.
So
BronyCon,
by then, Jesse and that other girl were already like, you know, like a thing together.
So they.
But like even the first year though, like because they were both there and nobody even tried to flirt with the Pinkie Pie girl because I think we all just thought she was out of our league. I
kind of tried. I talked to her a bunch. It didn't go anywhere.
Right. Well, anyway, yeah. I don't know how we got onto this topic. We haven't finished your life story. You were coming back to America.
You said I was well laid, did you? That's how we got onto this topic. Oh fuck!
So you came back to the U.S. after your trip around England or Europe rather.
Yes, to Amsterdam and Belgium and Ireland.
And how did you fund all that?
Estonia. Well, it's because I had a little bit of savings left from the lab job when I went, and then I worked as a teacher. I just saved up money from my teaching job. Oh yes, and then when I got fired, they wouldn't pay for my apartment anymore, and I was like, well, I'll run out of money if I keep living in this 1,500 zloty a month place. So I went to my landlord and was like, can you give me a cheaper place? And he moved me immediately downstairs into a into a 2-room complex that I shared with a 90-year-old woman. There was no appliances except for a simple hot plate. The heater was a giant column of stone that would occasionally get hot and emit heat into the bathtub did not hold water. You had to pump water into a fucking pan and sponge bathe yourself with it. There was no furniture. There was a mattress on the ground, and that was it. The walls were concrete.
From heaven to hell, and they're right above each other. That's incredible. Did you ever look up at the ceiling wistfully, God damn it? I was up there. Up there.
Yes,
up
I sure
where
did.
The skies are so much blue. I could be there and live without a care.
And you know what's funny? I had sex with 2 girls in Poland, and the one that I had sex with up in that nice room was way less attractive. The one that I had sex with down in that piece of shit, dingy 90-year-old woman room was 10 out of 10. It was amazing. So that's, fucking, I don't know, believe in yourself or something. That's my lesson. And that place costs 15 zlotys a day, which is $5 a day to live in this piece of shit apartment. Pretty solid.
I've kind of resolved that if I decide, because I don't think I'm ever gonna get laid just in my normal every day-to-day life, because I don't go anywhere or do anything or talk to anybody. So
right, that makes it unlikely.
If I made the conscious decision that I was gonna start dating, I would have to just completely redesign my room, just because there's no way I'm bringing a woman in here. I'm not even necessarily...
I don't think so.
I'm not saying...
I don't think you should worry about that.
Are you aware that there is a bed sheet stapled to my ceiling of a girl touching herself above my bed? Are you aware of that?
You know what? I think if that's who you are, you should just wear it on your sleeve, and women will appreciate that. I mean that.
I think maybe just at least that one should come down.
Maybe.
And the thing is,
okay.
Because part of it is that I don't care. I don't have it up there for my own enjoyment. It's more for I just want to have my room covered in posters. I don't even like a lot of the stuff I have up in my room. I just want to live the life of someone whose room is covered in posters. It's more of a status thing than a passion thing.
Imagine if you were I gotta make my room girl friendly, and you took down all your anime posters. Imagine how creepy that would be. To have bare walls.
I wouldn't take them all down. I'd take down the ones that are half naked chicks,
the raunchier ones.
Yeah, I've got plenty of
whatever.
normal-ish...
You're supposed to like half naked chicks. It's fine. Leave up the half naked chicks. Leave up the anime.
Yeah, but they're
cool.
half naked lolly girls and stuff. I don't know.
It's cool. It's just conversation starters.
I guess it really depends on what kind of I mean, assumably, by the time a girl was in my room, she would know what I'm about.
Absolutely.
All I talk about is anime and YouTubing and being an internet weirdo, so, maybe if they're well primed. But if I'm dating a girl who's not even into anime, then that's when I'm, worried.
Oh, man. So I went and met up with a patron the other day. I think he patrons us both. Yeah, this guy Crack. I went and he invited me out for a beer, and I went and I got a beer from him. And yes, at the bar there was a cute girl, and we talked, and I struck up a conversation, and fucking fuck me sideways. God help me if I couldn't prevent the conversation from steering itself towards anime. And she said, I don't know, some dumb crap. It didn't go anywhere. I was very sad. I really liked her glasses.
Mm.
That's my story.
I got a good image.
Thanks for the beer, Crack.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you came back to the U.S. after this tour of Europe. What did you do after that?
Yeah. Yes, and I paid for the trip with the money I got as the teacher. And then I came home and I was totally broke. Um, what I came okay. Well, I remember that shortly after I come back from Europe, I was like, I'm gonna get serious about drawing because I think it was right after I came back. I read Bakuman,
Right.
and I was like, oh my fucking god, art is pretty good.
Yeah.
So I went out and oh yeah, like at first I wanted to do it like they do it, like traditional, like with a G pen and a nib and stuff, and ink and paper. But like I have no, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I can't. I
It's
can't do it that way.
expensive to do it that way. Because you constantly have to buy materials and shit.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, the nibs and the ink are pretty cheap, but like, because you always want like different sizes of stuff, and you always need. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah, but for a while I was sticking with that like pen and ink aesthetic, and I made my first website, it'salsougly.com, which was like a gag strip site. A few of the like gag strips I made were sort of funny. A lot of them were just really terrible and confusing, and like I don't know what I was thinking. I've been posting some of those, but only the ones that I'm not completely embarrassed by. I've been posting them on my fucking subreddit, which I spent like 3 days editing the CSS of, and it looks amazing. Reddit.com/r/Saint.
Sorry, I want to scale this back a second, because you started taking art seriously, but were you drawing at all before? Like, had it ever been a career you had thought about?
It had never been a career I'd thought about, but it was something I did for fun, occasionally. Like, alright, I mean, I took like, I liked to draw as a little kid. I like to draw Pokemon, and my mom would take my like Pokemon. I mean, they were just basically like exact copies of pictures of Pokemon from books I had, but I would like copy them onto pages. And my mom is a teacher, and she would bring my like line art Pokemon drawings to school, and her kids would like color them, which was nifty. So. Yeah, I drew a little bit as a kid. I might have done like one like little summer program where like I had like a very basic drawing class or something. In college, I took one drawing class because it was something I kind of liked to do for fun, and I was a little bit good at it. But I never did it a lot or anything. Yeah. Towards the end of college, I started going on to the 4chan TG board for traditional gaming, which is like D&D and stuff. Yeah. And I had a character that I really liked that I was playing at the time, and I posted a description of him with like a little sketch I'd made, a terrible little MS Paint drawing because I couldn't draw that well, and someone drew him like beautifully. Like they fucking drew this beautiful image of this character that I had made, and I was like, wow, how did they do that? They did it so fast. Like it didn't even take them long. They just churned out this really amazing piece, and it like really, I don't know, struck me or something. So I stayed on TG, and I would do the same thing for other people. I would like to describe your character and I'll draw them, but like mine would just be this little like MS Paint sort of like pixel chibi. Like I tried to keep it really like a little simple, like very cartoonified thing. And I did a lot of those. I probably did like 20 or 30 of those. And that was about the extent of my arting. It was very like occasional. Like I would just do it sometimes if I was bored. Right. And then I went, I graduated college, I did work, then I went to Astrocamp, and then sometime after Astrocamp I read Homestuck. And reading Homestuck was like, well, it did two things for me. One, it made me, like, no one particular image in Homestuck is like that complicated. Like any individual piece of it would be easy to make. Right. Because it's pretty like low fidelity. Reading it made me feel like it was something that a real person could do. Like it was something that was like the level of craftsmanship on display was something that was attainable to me, which made me feel really close to it. Yeah. And
I had the same exact experience after reading Homestuck, actually.
Did you?
I tried to make my own Homestuck-like thing, where like the
choose your own adventure, text
adventure no, thing. Mine was just going to be a web novel, but with the images at the top. Like where each page had a picture and then the text under it. Because I'd been trying to be a novelist up until the point when I started making videos. So I had all these different ideas, and one was called Shovel Rock, and it was might be a website up somewhere, shovelrock.wordpress.com probably. I don't know if the posts are public, but it was just like a story about this girl who decides that she's gonna dig a hole at the beach because, like, as a kid, you always dig holes at the beach, and then when you grow up, you still want to do it. So she decides to, like, she's like, I think 11 at the start of the story, and she's like, I'm gonna dig the biggest hole ever. And then she and all her friends start digging this hole, and they basically burrow into like a whole underground society and shit. I never really planned anything beyond that, but I just thought it would be cool if I like drew each image, and it was like, after Homestuck. And what I tried to do was, each picture would be me taking someone else's art and then drawing like over it in MS Paint, but like different enough that it's not the same thing.
That's such bullshit.
Well, I was a huge fan of that. Like, you've seen my inverted Sweetie Belle thing, like my old My Little Pony avatar, where it was
I think the first video of yours I ever saw had the inverted Sweetie Belle.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the one I drew, but like the avatar I had was like, I'd flipped the colors on it and then drawn over it in Photoshop, so it had that wobbly look that my art has. And like I would do, like, I was trying to do a like something not quite like Homestuck, but another image based like adventure game thing with that character. And like, so I would be like, we're going into a cave, so I'd go onto Google and find a photo of a cave and then draw over it in MS Paint so it looked all blooby and weird. And
blooby.
Like, and that would be the locations. So that was how I tried to do after Homestuck. It didn't go anywhere.
Do you still have any of it?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely have the inverted Sweetie Belle stuff. I'm gonna look up Shovel Rock and see if
I felt really close to Homestuck. I never tried to like.
Yeah, okay, it's still up.
I'll remind me later. I'll go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that it made me feel was like I was so into Homestuck, right? Like I had read Scott Pilgrim the year before, and I had been really into Scott Pilgrim, but like the level of into that I felt for Homestuck was like almost beyond anything I'd ever felt before. I thought about Homestuck night and day. I thought about punch card alchemy, and I thought about all the classes and aspects, and I thought about the whole like weird, confusing mythos behind the whole thing. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so into Homestuck. I will never be into anything this much again unless it's something that I make myself. Something that I'm so interested in that I designed specifically to be a thing that I am into. So that made me really want to like, do my own work and start something kind of like Homestuck. Not in that same way.
Were you ever like just generally artistically inclined, like not just to drawing, but like did you grow up thinking you would be an artist or anything like that?
No, I thought I would be a scientist.
Yeah, because like I know, for instance, Neil X.
I mean, I did creative things once in a while, but like not that often. And I never really saw it as who I was. I just kind of saw it as distractions. Right. And I kind of when I was like college age, I kind of looked down on the arts. Like I thought, like science is real, science accomplishes something.
Right.
Art, on the other hand, is just some bullshit. And I mean, now my opinion about art,
total flip.
My opinion about art hasn't changed. Art is all bullshit, but science is bullshit too. They're equally stupid and pointless, but art is more fun. So right. I'd rather be doing it.
That's interesting because it's seen as such a like you do one or the other kind of thing, and like. You remember Neil X, the Elements of Brony?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was he was a lawyer, and he had that kind of mindset too of like, lawyer, like it makes a difference in the world and like does important things. And then by the time he finished college, was like completely disillusioned to that, and like through making Elements of Brony was like, maybe I want to be an art guy, and I think it's really fascinating to see people make that transition because I never didn't want to be an artist. Like my whole life, that's all I've thought I was going to do was creative work. Like
thinking back, like I think I really liked the idea of being an artist. Like I think that concept appealed to me, but not in a way that like I actually ever planned to do it or thought that I would. It just seemed like a nice idea.
Yeah. I've literally, the thought has never crossed my mind to not be an artist, unless it was like not until I was an adult and having to like face the reality of whether or not I could be an artist, you know? Like that was the only
Yeah.
time it was like, oh man, maybe I can't, maybe I will never be able to do this, and I have to get like a normal thing, you know?
Yeah. I got you, man.
Was Nate like that too? Was he ever like, was he an art boy?
I think Nate. No, not at all. I think Nate was the same. Like Nate said he wanted to be a doctor as a kid.
Mm.
Uh,
You both made such a dramatic flip. You're trying to do
yeah,
comics.
I don't know, man. Maybe it was just that little. Maybe it was just that little taste of fucking having an audience that came with T-Bap. I think it kind of. Well, I mean, I had. Actually, no. That's not what did it for me. Because like, yeah, I had made my old comic site. It's Also Ugly. Like that previous year, like early in that year, and then. So yeah, I was already kind of making like an art like a go of being an artist in some sense or fashion, and then I don't know, fucking T-Bab happened like at the end of 2013, I want to say,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then my drawing was mostly limited to like doing the poses and the title cards and stuff for that.
Yeah.
Was where I put most of my efforts.
I also find it like
yeah.
really fascinating that you were so influenced by Bakuman, because like I wrote about it before that
Bakuman was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like
Right.
if there was like oh I want to say I did the biggest before I ever decided to make like a real go of being an artist. There was one kind of big project that I did, and that was I ran like a Homestuck RP for some friends. But it was like we would meet every once in a while, or like I would talk to them on Skype because I was in Europe for a lot of it. And like I would lay out the scenario, and their character would do something, and you know they eventually discovered they eventually went god tier, and like you know had to solve the riddle of their world and stuff. But we would roleplay a little bit, and then I would go and draw like what happened. So this is still up on a Tumblr somewhere. I might transfer it to somewhere else at some point. But yeah, so I have these like sort of illustrated sequences of these like Homestuck style fan characters that my friends made, doing, you know, a bunch of like random things that don't really make sense to read in context, because you had to understand what the roleplay aspect what had happened in the adventure to know what the images mean. But it was a big project, and it took me like a year or like I think I did it over the course of like 2 years, but like. Right. Yeah, it was a big fucking project, and it lasted a really long time.
That's great though, because I feel like what hangs up like a lot of artists and stuff is like they're constantly trying to draw like original ideas or things from their mind and stuff, and like I think it's better practice to just have something like that. Like I'm gonna draw every scene from this whatever RP, you know, like it's a good way to have a lot of ideas to try to translate, and like. You know, instead of like conjuring an image in your head that you then have to draw, it's like the image is already there and you just have to like try to translate it, you know?
I guess it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of like a crutch that I could lean on. It was like I didn't have to, like if I was ever in doubt, I could just look at the original source material and be like, well, make it look like that.
Right.
It was... Man, it's so weird to think back on. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it was called Spurg. Was the name of the, you know, like Spurb, but you know.
That's awesome.
I know. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of some. I mean, I'm pretty proud of some of the pieces of it. I'm definitely gonna post those somewhere because they're pretty neat. Yeah. So I did that, like. And then I came back. I think I finished that in like 2014, like towards the beginning of 2014. Like I finally sat down and drew the final conclusion of it.
So T-Bap was already going by this point.
Yes, it was.
So like
all these threads kind of overlap with each other.
Because I'm trying to get a sense of like how fast your progress happened, because when you started T-Bap, this was like one of the fastest I've ever seen, like 0 to 100 on like video quality, where you guys started TBAP
Yeah.
in like late 2013, and the first couple videos were just a static shot of the two OCs that were not that
It's
well
just a
drawn.
still image.
And
Hey, come on, they looked sort of show accurate.
they were okay looking OC characters, and you had like shitty audio, and it was just a static image. And then all of a sudden, you like completely revamped the character designs, and I already was a fan of like your art style by this point. So like I would have assumed that you were like a regular artist, like you've been doing a lot of it, and that doesn't seem to be the case.
TBAP was like, I mean, yeah, I would say that taken in its entirety, TBAP was like the biggest art project I'd ever done. I would say that it involved more art than Spurg did.
Right.
I don't know why I designed the characters like that. I gave them the big eyes and like the weird pupils.
Well, it made them really
I don't know, they
expressive,
just look cool to me.
It was great. Like they had the best facial expressions of any OC pony by far. And they were the best OC
really
ponies of all time. Like
I mean,
they justified the concept of original characters to me.
I still love them. Yeah. I still love Phantom Horn. I'm not even embarrassed. Like, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell people that I did, like, My Little Pony. I don't know. It's in the past, so I'm not really that embarrassed about it. I used to be embarrassed, like, when people ask me what I was doing on YouTube. But now I'm like, I don't feel anything about that about Phantom Horn. I think Phantom Horn is a great character. He's funny. He's just I'm a genius. I'm such a genius.
Yeah,
how that is.
I almost like,
and Keg's not bad either.
I
Keg's
feel so like, for me, I think I'm in the best position of anybody in the PCP because I've already had my career as an anime guy is longer than my pony career, and it's all my best stuff. Like the pony stuff was okay, but I've gotten so much better since that. Like I would even if you were a My Little Pony fan, like if someone came up to me and was like, I want to watch My Little Pony analysis, I would hesitate to send them my videos. Like some of them I would, but like I don't think they're like indicative of my current level of skill at all.
The stuff you make does not. No, they're. I don't know. I mean, I actually rewatched like a whole bunch of your old video. Like, I mean, I'll put on playlists of like, you know, other PCP members or Mr. B-Tongue or Matthew Mitosis or something, and just listen forever and ever. And I did that with your pony stuff. I put it on the playlist and just let it go for a while. It was pretty. I don't know. It's pretty good. It is a lot different than what you're doing now.
I think so.
It's more.
I mean, there's parts
it's less
of it,
concise.
Like when me and Devu were looking back, I would definitely say that it got a lot better as it went. Like the really early videos are like terrible, and then they get, you know, there's definitely some interesting ideas in there and stuff, and some well argued points. But like, the reason I bring it up is that it makes me sad because when someone goes to my channel right now, they're gonna see my best videos like on the front page, but then you've got like Jesse, who's like the best thing he ever did is the Horseshoe Saga in terms of like concept and this epic execution.
The best thing he ever did was Butt Chugger.
Well, yeah, but that as well. But like, you can't, like, unless someone knows MLP and knows what the culture was at the time, you can't really appreciate it. And the same goes for TBAP, where it's like, outside the context of watching My Little Pony every week, how do you send someone TBAP, you know?
Yeah, you can't.
Right.
I don't tell people about TBAP
anymore. There's so
anymore.
much good stuff in it where the characters were so good, and the Phantom reviews and Keg reviews were like some of the best videos that ever came out of the community, and all the intro gags. Every time I think of TBAP, the first thing that comes to mind is the intro gag where you had the live action Phantom Horn hands, and it was like him doing a live draw, and he spills ink all over everything, and like. I remember being like blown away when I saw that.
Dude, the video quality on that was so bad, but like the gag is so great
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe, like, we went to such incredible lengths to film that bit and, like, put that bit together and match it with the audio and make it work. And the result is so fucking amateurish, but it's still, it's so
It was
good.
still enough to, like, because we were all doing this where we were trying to get our videos out, like, the day the episode happened. So you would prepare these intro gags and outro gags and stuff.
After a certain point, we would do that, yeah.
And so I'm putting out these videos where it's like, the episode comes out, I immediately write about it, I immediately, stitch together this shitty haphazard video of a bunch of pony expressions and whatever random clips from the episode are there, and I fucking throw it out. And then TBAP would come out, and even though most of it is just this podcast with these two ponies talking, there'd be these intro segments that are of more artistic merit than anything either of us were doing, like
we just recreate the Game Grumps but with our own logos.
Right. Yeah.
That was such an intensive process. It took like an entire day's work to do that. But it came out looking pretty nice and neat.
Right. And I feel so bad that, like, now we're in this, like, post that era, and, like, when you have to try to sell someone on why is Ben Saint cool, and it's like, well, we've got a bunch of podcasts, and we have these few comics, but, like, I have way more content. I have all these old T-Bat videos. I've seen you do all these different creative things that were totally out there and different, and invent these whole characters. The episode, the T-Bat video that's just Keg talking to this girl about all the other OCs you guys made up is, like, legendary. Fucking Ultimate Pumpkin and Horse Fister.
Wait. Oh, the
animatic,
one where it's
the
animatic. Oh my god, I always wanted to do more, like, story segments with, like, Keg and Phantom, but, like, with my current skills, I feel like they'd be a little more feasible.
Yeah.
But, like, back then I was so new to the whole thing and just so bad and so slow that, like,
but
they
again,
were so hard.
I think your dynamic poses, though, make them, like, great to watch. And that's like, when you were talking about the Sword Art Online thing, like, why I would choose you, like, I think if people just saw your comic book art, they might not necessarily understand why I want you to do an animatic, because, like, I've seen you do those and I loved them, Yeah. So, like,
you're right about. Yeah, like, TBAP content it's not relevant anymore. Like,
no.
it was a what's the word? It was a time and place thing.
Yeah.
And it's not what it doesn't
it's
have
almost
the
impossible.
same relevance
it's
now.
Impossible to send somebody an MLP video from that era for any of us, because it was all so contextual, where it was like, you'd make a reference to something that was only relevant that week. And then, even for me, like, I'll watch some pony videos and be like, what the fuck was I talking about there? Like, I don't remember this, I would, like, my end cards on a lot of my videos.
It seemed important at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd be like, why? Why am I bringing this up? So...
Nah, but that worries me, too, about, like, what I said before. Vapors is it's so short. It's like, it took me so long to make it, but you can read it in, like, 10 minutes.
Right.
Oh, I lose sleep over this sometimes.
And that's, like, that's a big part of the incentive of why I wanted to interview you, is, like, I want people to understand how, like have a substantial amount of how cool you are. Because, like, when Brunswick came out, my first thought was, this would be the absolute perfect Tumblr like, share comic, right? Or, like, something that gets passed around anonymously, like, where people don't know who the author is, but they just find it. Because there's so much stuff like that on the internet, where you go on, like, 4chan, and there'll be those, like, comics that get posted all the time. Kind of like Nana's Everyday Life, where you had never heard of Clone.manga until I sent you the website.
I had read Nana's Everyday Life, but I did not know who made it until you told me about Clone, and then I looked him up and was like, oh, it's
a guy. And yeah.
Yeah, and I do not understand what he does now.
No,
he does
weird
4chan quest threads about a bunch of, like, bunny girls.
But, like,
I don't know, I don't get it.
But, like, Nana's Everyday Life was sort of independent of him, because it was, like, a 4chan comic that would just come out of the ether and be there, you know. Another
Yeah.
good recent one that I doubt you or anyone else will have read, but there's this comic called Take the Iron Pill, and
Never heard of it.
it's just these, like, the only way to find it, there's no website for it, there's just an Imgur like image dump. Like, the guy literally will just update a new chapter to this Imgur folder, and like no one knows who's writing it or where it comes from, but it's like really funny and entertaining. So like when I read Brunswick, I was like, that's the way I would expect this to get around, because it's this short emotional story that's relevant to a certain fan base. And and so it could easily get around because it has that gut punch feel where everyone who reads it will be like, this is a like, people won't say this is Ben Saint's comic, they would say it's a emotional Pokemon comic I found, you know.
Yeah, I was prepared for that.
Right.
Let me, not to go off on a tangent, but I feel like I don't worry about like my art getting passed around anonymously. I feel like that's just kind of in the nature of what an artist does. Like, you make your art and you put it out there, and like it just kind of goes. You know,
Right.
It's independent now. I've never been one to worry about, like, you know, will it get stolen and uncredited? Well, like, if it does, that's I don't know. That's just what happens. That's just part of the job.
I actually have a certain degree of like jealousy of people who do like great uncredited work. Cause like I always wonder about like cause for us, we need the credit so we can make money. Like, I don't have any attachment to fame, and I don't think you really do much either. It's like,
no, I really want to be popular.
Oh, do you?
I really want to be famous.
Like, I personally, I mean, I like the fame for the power it gives me, that I can like recommend a show and everyone will go watch it. Like, I love that. But for me, it's like the reason for popularity is because without it, you can't make money. Whereas like,
I mean, that's one reason. No, I think popularity is an end in itself. I want to be relevant so bad.
What's like the benefit for you of like that? Just emotional?
It's just I don't know. If people care about me, then that means I have value, right. You know? I guess it's some kind of weird like self-image thing.
That's interesting, because I kind of get it. Like, again, I guess I like the praise, but popularity mostly comes with like this huge negative caveat of people shitting on you all the time, you know.
I don't even really, I mean, not to say that I don't like praise, I do, but like when people praise me, and also when people criticize me, it all just kind of rolls off me. Cuz like those opinions are not mine.
Right.
Like I only really care about like what do I think about a thing. Like, other people can have their opinions, but it's not that big a deal. But like, I don't know, just the fact that they have any opinion at all is important to me.
Yeah.
I want people to like know me and think about me.
Okay.
You know, at least something, so that I can, I don't know, feel like I really exist.
I kind of feel like if I could make enough money and like my work wasn't even like didn't even have a name on it, I would be okay with that. But the thing is that having a name means you can always make more. Like, I would never want to settle for a baseline. Like, if somebody said you'll make $50,000 a year forever and you just have to like make this anonymous work for us, I wouldn't take that, because I know that by having a name I can get up to $100,000 a year, you know. Because I'm working on like, because my like how famous I could get myself is how much money I can make, you know.
Well, I mean, the most important thing is having enough money so that I can do what I want,
right.
You know, with my time. That's more important than fame, is being self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But like, if all other, this is kind of what, along with the whole Homestuck thing about how I'll never like anything unless I make it myself. The whole reason why I wanted to be art was like, you know, they ask you that question in high school, like, you know, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? Right. And my answer was, you know, I would want to try to make some great work of art that, you know, got like famous and was like remembered for all of time.
Right. You don't even need money
So
to do that. Well, you need money to
no,
fund your
yeah,
ability to do that, but yeah.
you need. I mean, you need a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So like, yeah, the most important thing is having enough money, but that's not that hard. I don't need very much. It would all of my money goes to funding my life so I can sit here and try to make stuff
Right.
that will get out there and people will remember forever.
I'm always really surprised
That's what I want.
by this interesting dichotomy with you, where you're very into self promotion and you promoting your Patreon, but you also seem to have the least desire to make a lot of money out of anybody I know. Like,
I don't know what I would do with more than like. I mean, even as much as you make, I don't think I would even know what to do with it. I mean, it would be nice to have it,
right,
because like there's no such thing as too much money.
right.
But
That's my mentality.
yeah, I don't.
It's like I'm for me it will never be enough because I can always think of something to do with the next step of money. Like if I have enough to buy a house and a car, that's great. Now I want enough to buy my friend a house and a car. You know, I want enough to put up all my I think if I got to the point where I was making enough money that I could legitimately move all the procrastinators into a neighborhood where we all had houses near each other and we had a studio space and I had enough money that I could personally pay for all of that, that would be enough money and I wouldn't need any more than that. Like, but
Awesome.
that's an absurd amount of money. But like,
That's high.
yeah.
But
But that's the only way I'd hit
I don't
a
know.
point and be like, all right, there's no
And
reason
be like, this
to go
is
up.
enough.
There's no reason.
now I don't need any more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I had shit tons of money, you know what I might do is I might switch from comics to doing something else. I might like hire like an editor to like make my art into like I might hire someone to turn it into like a motion comic or something. I might hire a composer to do music for it
Right.
or something. I might make like bigger
Get a team.
budget productions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like
I wouldn't mind like
the stuff
if
I'm
I had
doing
enough
right
money,
now.
I could hire you to like hey, let's just instead of just editing videos, let's also just animate all of them because like
yeah,
$2,000 a video, I don't care, you know, like if I could do that.
Hot shit. Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, that reminds me of T-Bap, like what you were saying before. Like you talking about all the like the jokes and the gags and stuff in T-Bap. Like, I mean, I don't think all of them were great. Some of them were really stupid.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there were some really good funny creative bits that me and Nate did together. And like, I don't know, I feel like my comics don't come out fast enough
Right.
for me to like, yeah, be like putting myself out there and like being creative in a way that I used to be with like every week we'd have a new T-Bap out and I'd make jokes. And also like, yeah, I liked making jokes. My comics are not like, they're not full of jokes.
Right.
You know, they're not funny in that way anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Like, and kind of going back to what I was saying about like both with the doing anonymous work and with the thing that you were doing where you were drawing all those scenes from your RP. Like, I think artists get so hung up on making a big thing that they forget they can also make like a million small things. You know, like what if like if you could afford to in between each comic to just draw some fun wacky picture that's like a funny thing, or to make like a 30-second sketch comedy thing on YouTube or something, you know, just to like, because I've seen some guys who do stuff like that. Even Andrew Hussey, before he got so into Homestuck, where he would do like those Star Trek
that's the Star Trek edits
and like you know, just to bounce, and he had like all the different blogs and stuff like that, just to bounce around and do all these different kinds of things. You know, and it like for me, I personally, I would love to do more of that kind of stuff. And I actually, now that I finally like have so much free time, I've actually made some anonymous content where like people know I made it. But like, for instance, I have this gigantic anime depth and obscurity chart that I made that like gets posted on 4chan all the time. Like I just made it for 4chan. Like here's a chart and throw it around, or like a magical girl recommendations flow chart. Like I've just made that stuff with, there's no monetary gain for me to make this thing, and I don't care that it's attached to my name. I just want it to exist. And it's because like I can make, all I have to do right now to make enough money to live is I have to write 4 scripts and pay the Devu to make videos out of them. And the rest of my time doesn't have to be dedicated to making money. I made all those vlogs last month. I made like 30 vlogs, and I did make money off of them, but that was not the incentive to make them. It was, I felt like turning on a camera and recording something. And I think it's good that it's healthy for your feeling as an artist to not feel like you have to make a big thing or else no one's going to patron you,
Yeah.
I think that's where Tom's trapped too, where he's like trying to make this giant monolithic series that he's working towards because he has to like have a breakout hit,
He said one time that he thought the series would go for like 10 years. I was like, oh my god.
It'll take 10 years for
project?
him to finish a chapter at the rate he goes.
Oh god, don't say that.
He literally spent a year drawing 6 pages, like of an action
I was talking to him through that year, and like there were lots of little moments where he kept changing his mind and being like, no, I'm gonna make it a motion comic, no, I'm gonna make it a web comic,
right.
No, I'm gonna do it in pages, no, I gotta, it was, that's a whole story. But I'm kind of, I can't do anything right now because right now it's crunch time because I'm trying to finish up sketches of this first chapter of Champion to submit it to Hiveworks before the 15th because I would really like to be a part of the Hiveworks network. I think that would get me a lot of new exposure.
Am I like, by doing this podcast, am I wasting a lot of your time? I just looked at the calendar and it's the 3rd and that's 12 days, so...
I tell you what, Digi, I meant today has been a complete fucking bust for me. I have just completely failed on every level to achieve anything that I set out to do when I woke up. So I finally was like, "Hey, Digi, you wanna record this thing? I can't.
I know the feeling.
I'm too. Yeah, I have to do something.
If it makes you feel any better, before the month of May started, I got all my work done and gave it to Devu. Under the idea was, I'm gonna have a whole month that I can do whatever I want. I can make the biggest project imaginable. Like that was the plan. The ideal was I could take on like a 100 episode show if I want, or I could cover a whole franchise. I could write a novel length video in the span of a month. And I did literally nothing. I did not write a single video the whole month. All I did was record vlogs and play Doom. And now it's June, and not only did I not make a giant video, I don't even have any normal videos for June. So,
God damn you.
So now I have to, from scratch, make up a bunch of videos for this month. It's already the 3rd, and I have nothing, so, and I have no ideas.
Damn your eyes.
So it's all like, okay, I fucked up. What did I do wrong?
Hey, you should review, patreon.com/bensane.
There was a moment too when you messaged me to do the podcast where I was like, I don't know if I can afford to do that right now, but I don't have any plans yet, so let's just fucking do it. Because last night I blew all night on 4.5 hours of commentary with Devu, so
yesterday I was talking in the chat, I was day drunk, it was great.
That was great.
So that wasn't a productive day, and then I woke up hungover today, and just I lost 2 days to that, to the miracle of alcohol.
Yeah, it's like Kanye said. The plan was drink till the pain over, but what's worse, the pain or the hangover? Gets me every time.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I can squeeze out a panel or two before bed, and then I'll get back a little bit of momentum. Yeah. I'll have a little bit of momentum going, and I can wake up tomorrow and be like, gotta keep on the roll.
So to get back to making this more interview-like before we wrap it up, I want to know some stuff about your process, because I was fascinated that you tweeted out, like, you'd sketched out the entire chapter of Champion.
That's like maybe a little more than half of it.
Okay.
Like two-thirds maybe.
Because I was just surprised that it's all, like, I don't know, I guess in my head I was thinking you would finish each page as you went, but it's like a halfway complete the entire thing at once.
Well, let me tell you, Digi, all right, Vapors. I sketched the pages out with pencil, and then finished them on the computer. And then I guess that's what I'm doing for Champion 2. Only I'm just sketching them digitally. Because like I said, I'm gonna submit it to Hiveworks,
Right.
but I want to show them the entire story thumbnailed out. So I want to have it all roughed out so they can read it, even if all the pages aren't finished.
Oh,
so
that's a good plan.
So that's deliberate. I'm not. I think I finished like 3 pages, but the rest of them are still rough. I gotta. Oh my god! I gotta finish I gotta get at least 1 page done a day if there's any hope for me to get it in on time.
Yeah.
Brunswick was different. Brunswick, I would do a page all at once. I didn't even sketch, except for certain poses that were more tricky, and I needed to do an underlayer sketch and then trace over it. But half of the Brunswick things I didn't even sketch ahead of time. I just went right in and drew them, and it was great. And I should probably do more of that.
Yeah, you had said you were going to do that for Champion, but I'm guessing you changed your mind because of this whole submission thing.
Well, yeah, kind of due to the submission thing. Also, I mean, a lot of my sketches are really good, and I think a lot of the better ones, I might just use the sketch as the final art. And only touch up the things that I think actually need touching up, like the backgrounds and stuff. I think if I tried, I have a lot of really good and expressive faces sketch that I think if I tried to trace over and clean up, they would lose that energy. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll just use what's good and change what's bad.
So here's another important question that I should have asked way earlier, but I was trying to get through your whole life story to get up to this point. How are first of all, where do you live and how are you funding it? Because you obviously aren't making enough on Patreon that it's paying for your life. You're not living off your art. Because
I made that little diagram of myself parachuting with Patreon and just the different trajectories down into the fire of poverty.
Because to go through the PCP real quick, I know that me and Devu are living off of my channel currently.
Yeah.
I think Jeff is full Patreon now. I think he kind of was from the start. I don't know.
He makes a bunch.
Jesse's full Patreon. Hippo's still in school, so he's still on his parents' dime. We don't really know where he's gonna try. I think he wants to be.
He's graduated now, right?
Yeah,
didn't he just graduate?
He just finished school. He has a graduation ceremony. So he's either gonna get a job or he's gonna go full YouTube. I know he wants to do full-time YouTube. It's just a matter of how quickly can he grow as a channel. Yeah. Tom has been in this weird, fucked up Patreon/art limbo for the last 2 years.
I think he got a job.
I think he did too. He mentioned something to that effect. Because there's no way he's. Yeah. That was another one where I was like, "How are you living off of this still?" Because his Patreon went down a lot.
I mean, he makes. Yeah, it went down a lot. I mean, he's still making more than me on Patreon, but I mean that I don't make anywhere near enough to live on, so he's probably isn't.
And either. I think we all know that Nate.
He apparently pays out the ass for.
Nate has
for
the
student
best
loans too.
Normal job.
Yeah, he's got a real job.
Right.
He doesn't want it, but he's been forced into it by circumstance, and he's got to do it to finish his degree.
And he has been seriously contemplating because he just finished his degree, right? He's also graduating.
No, right? He's not. He's not quite done with it yet. Okay. I think he's got to last to December. I think he might get his degree in December.
I was under the impression he was almost done. So
he is I mean, he's been almost done for a long time.
I don't even understand how he's still in college.
He fucked up many times.
But yeah, so he's been contemplating taking the plunge to go full YouTube, but it's just a matter of justifying the fact that he doesn't make nearly enough money yet.
Yeah.
So what are you doing that you can afford to live?
Well, I tell you, I told you before how much I hate teaching.
Yes.
Well, now I make. All right, so I have this gig, on the internet, where it's a service that you can basically just log in and tutor kids on with,
right.
And it's Chegg. I have an account on Chegg, and Uh, basically, all right. The last house that I lived at was I moved in with into their side room, hoping to pay pretty low rent. But as soon as I moved in, um, there happened to be this kerfuffle between the people that live there and the landlord, and there was legal action. There was like a court case going on, and while there was a court case, nobody was paying any rent. So I managed to live in this place for no rent for like 6 months, just out of total happenstance. And then when the court case went through, everyone was evicted. And I was like, so I went home to my parents' place for a couple months, and for a while they let me stay without paying rent. So then I didn't, and then eventually they made me pay a little bit. But and then finally, at the beginning of this year, I found a new place with some friends, and we split the rent. It's like not very expensive. It's like $500-ish a month or less. Anyway, the point is, all those times that I was living on my expenses being very, very low, I was tutoring and making money and saving up money, and now I have like a little bit saved up and my costs are low, so I'm just trying to I just have some time. I'm almost in financial free fall, but I can last it out for a little bit longer. So I'm just trying to get as much art done during this period, try and get my Patreon up to try and extend, extend my financial possibilities here.
So basically
I'll have to tutor more eventually at some point in the future, but it's not a big deal.
So your only income is from this tutoring, and it has been for a long time. And do you would you say that the amount that you are capable of making doing that is at all comfortable, or is it really this art needs to fucking pay off soon before I'm in trouble?
I have managed to get by on tutoring money before. I mean, right now it's summer, so there's very little of that kind of work to do. Right. So right now, if I needed that, I would be in trouble. But once the school year starts, if I put my mind to it, I can usually... I mean, I don't make a good living on it, but I can make I can keep myself afloat with it. So when the shit hits the fan and I completely run out of money, that's going to be what I fall back on. Right.
But you're hoping that if the art takes off, you won't have to do that anymore.
I mean,
what kind of Patreon numbers would you need to have before you could scale back your tutoring to only for pocket, that's the secondary job, the pocket change job? This should be,
I would say maybe 500 or 600.
That should be your Patreon goal, by the way. Put it up there of if we reach this amount.
Right now my Patreon now, it's the goals are structured with $1,000 a month being the goal of at this level I can sustain myself. That's a little high. That's I mean, that would be how much I need to make a comfortable living. Right. Which I mean is still really low. $12,000 a year is not very much money. But that's what I feel I would need to get to be comfortable and not have any concern about my money. At $500 a month, I would be basically breaking even, and I could make it on that much unless there were some crisis or unless my situation changed somehow.
Personally, I want everybody in the PCP to be making a lot of money to make the whole moving into an area possible, because we've talked a lot about because right now I think we're at the level where a lot of us could move into a place together and afford it, but I don't consider that the most ideal scenario. To me, the most ideal scenario is we all live close to each other,
I heard you talked about this on a Digibros lately, and I totally agree. I mean, I don't know how good of roommates all the PCP would be. Right. I'm sure it would be fine, but I mean, I think probably I would get annoyed at Jesse. Right. I think he would probably get up to shit that would piss me off once in a while. And no matter how good a roommate someone is, I mean, living in close proximity always makes you hate people. Right. So I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll have I think you, Devu, and Nate would all be really easy for me to live with. So
I mean, maybe Devu. I'm not 100%. I think Nate would be a pretty easy roommate.
I think Devu is.
I mean, I think
Devu will be an easy roommate because, and this is this word. I'm not using it to the extreme that it'll sound like, but he's sort of obedient in the sense that if there were
Devu
if there were rules
Devu
he
loves
had
you, dude.
to
Devu is so on board with everything
Right.
you say.
Well, like if there were rules that everyone had to follow in a household, Devu would hold himself
Yeah.
to those rules very strongly. Like if I was like,
yeah, I could see
if
that.
I was like, this is how much we're paying every month, these are the boundaries, like socially and what we need to do, Devu would be like, and also you're sleeping in the closet. He'd be down for all of that. You know, he said it himself,
I could
like that he would live in a closet.
would you say he's like a very rules abiding person?
To get what he wants, yes. Like, because the benefit of living together would be so strong, he would be willing to make as many sacrifices as possible to make it so that it worked well. You know, like he would be oriented around, how do I make this experience good for everybody so that they will keep me around, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas
I used to be yeah, go on.
No, just that, whereas Jesse does not follow rules unless it aligns with his interests, you know.
I think Jesse might, I don't know, it might not be as bad as I'm imagining, but I could see it being really tough to live with Jesse. I mean, he'd always be fucking shouting in his room when he's doing his recordings and whatever.
Yeah, well, depending on the size of the house, it might not matter. Like, if we all lived in my house, you would never notice that was happening, because everything's so spaced out.
I used to be a terrible roommate. I used to try to be real sneaky. Like I'm a sneaky guy,
Right.
and I fuck over people that I think don't need, that I think won't be hurt too bad by it, like fucking companies and stuff.
Right.
And like employers, I'm totally happy overrepresenting my hours worked because I don't care about their welfare. I used to be like that for people too, and for like my roommates and stuff. Like I would try to like sneakily like not pay rent or like pay it late,
Right.
or like, you know, see how much I could get away with. But like, I don't know, the last couple places I've been at, like I learned eventually that stuff is no good, and like when you're an asshole like that, like it hurts you in the long run. So now I'm very like up on my shit.
Nate has
and, like,
mentioned that
I always pay on time.
You know, it's funny. Nate mentioned that you apparently don't do dishes, and
Oh, yeah.
Nate was like, "Man, Ben never does the dishes." And then Devu apparently, just as of this month, has struck up a deal with his family that if he does all the dishes, he doesn't have to pay any rent.
That's fucking awesome. What a sweet deal.
And he said he actually enjoys doing the dishes. So
yeah, I can see it.
And I was just like,
it's not a terrible job.
you know, I was thinking like, Nate's telling me Ben never does dishes, and I'm like, well, that's a problem. But then I've got Devu over here to cancel out that problem. If it got too bad.
But do you know? But did Nate mention why I never do dishes?
No, he did not.
I mean, well, the place I'm living at now, the guy who found the house, he eventually he tried to borrow money from other people living here. And tried to he had this big web of debts, and it eventually became too much, and we kicked him out. But his dad, who is technically homeless, still comes to our house every morning to do his laundry. And when he does his laundry, he does our dishes for us. So we have a homeless man doing our dishes for us every day. That's why I don't have to do dishes.
Whoa, that is a mind-blowing story.
It's convenient.
See, I have all these weird pragmatist ideas about what I will be like if I live. My whole idea is, if I am no longer dependent on my parents in any way, I will have 2 plates. Period.
2 plates.
I will only have 2 plates because
Lamau, 2 plate. Do you even lift, bro?
it's just the idea is I need 2 just because sometimes your food takes up 2 plates if it's soup and grilled cheese or something like that. But the idea is that you don't put soup on a plate. But anyway, I would have to just wash the dish to use it. So instead of having dishes that can pile up, I just have 1 dish. I eat off of it.
Yeah, and you just wash it when you need it.
I eat off of it and then I clean it, and then I pick it up and eat off of it again. And it always gets cleaned because I don't have another dish to, to cycle through. So like if I was in like that kind of living situation, I would just have like I would have my one plate. I would put food on it, eat it, take it out, wash it off, and keep it in my room, so it would never be, no one else would ever assume it was their dish. It's just mine, I've kind of done the same.
I have a mug like that.
I kind of do the same thing with
coffee.
like groceries, where like when I started buying my own groceries, I leave them all in the bags, and I just put the grocery in so everyone knows it's mine, and they also can't see what it is and get tempted to eat it. So yeah, I have lots of those little solutions. I like the idea of we all live in one place, but we're all doing our own thing. It's like we don't live together, so it doesn't feel like a family. Where
I wouldn't want to run the risk of there being like, disagreements and confrontations and us like coming to hate each other. I would be really sad if that.
Well, that's why
happens.
like my ideal is that I could pay for like most of it, because like the only thing I really see being a problem is like debts and rent. Like it's always money. Money is what fucks up friendships. When people all move in together, as soon as one guy can't keep a job, can't keep paying the rent, that's the guy who becomes the problem.
That's what happened to our friend with the dad who does the dishes. Right. He just like, it wasn't even that he didn't pay, it was that he like wasn't honest about it and kept promising that he could pay right up until the rent was late and he didn't have it. Oh man. I'm so mad about that. Because
I'm really used to like living with, because my family, we've taken in like countless relatives, like almost up until a couple years ago, we had like a constant revolving door of people living with us until finally like my grandma lived with us for a while, and then my dad would just like, buy her a car and get a place that was cheap for her, and like, here, now you're somewhere, and like we constantly had like people around, and they would always be fuck ups, they would never get their shit together. Nobody ever gets a job fast enough. They don't save enough money. And so like I'm used to all the reasons that this would happen. There was one time I had both my cousin and one of my friends both shared my room with me, like no walls or anything. We were all in the same room for like years, and then like they just couldn't seem to get a handle on their cash well enough until finally my dad was like, you guys gotta go, like you have to make enough money and get out of here. So
I mean, my dad's had to do that to me a bunch of times.
So
over the years.
I'm used to seeing that happen, but like the reason that we've been able to put up people so much is that my dad just makes so much money that he can afford to take care of an extra person, But it was finally just at the point where like my parents are getting older and they just don't want to have to deal with that anymore. They're like, we're done with this whole putting up people randomly thing. But on the other side of the coin, my dad really wants to move him and my mom out and get their own place and just leave this house to me and my brothers. And like,
dude,
and he wants,
that's a huge value. That's a really valuable thing.
Right. But I mean, he wants us to be paying for it, but he's also, because like the thing is, he kept offering me like, all right, the house costs about $2,500 a month to run. Can you move in enough people that we can all afford it, And I was like,
well, how many bedrooms are there?
There's like 4 clear bedrooms and 3 rooms that can be made into bedrooms. So
the place I live now, the rent is $3,200 and we have 6 people living here.
Right. Which is pretty good.
It's pretty
But here's
sweet.
the thing. So he changed that though recently, cuz he kept saying like like he was saying $2,500 is like the amount it's going to cost a month. But what he was talking about at the time was him and my mom and Shade moving out into their own, into a different, cuz Shade's still completely dependent on him. Them moving into a place and leaving the house to me and whoever I could move in. And they were also kind of in the mindset that Victor might be moving in with his girlfriend at some point. But right now, Victor doesn't have a job, and he's probably not going to move with her anytime soon. And Shade, they don't really need to take him with them because he's an adult now. So they're like, what if we moved and got our own place, and my dad puts up $1,000 towards the house to cover Shade and Victor, and I just move in enough people to pay $1,500 a month. So for me, I'm like, well, I've already got me and Devu, and I can easily afford $500 a piece for us. So if I can just get one more guy who's willing to pay $500 a month, we're set. You know,
I want one thing that I want Jesse to move out of his house. His situation seems so
right.
Seems so rough, you know. He's always talking about like his mom and his family, and like it doesn't sound very good. I really want him to get a new place, but he seems so he seems like he's kind of got inertia, you know, like he's pretty set up where he is.
Yeah, it's like that his room in his house is so big a part of who he is and like his mentality.
It is his basement is like imagine a fucking Jesse Wood video in a different room.
Yeah, it's hard
on like a
to
set
imagine.
or something.
Like that's my like I honestly like when I was talking about like moving people in, I was like, what can we possibly like what room could we put Jesse in that would be like enough to to have his personality in there, you know?
I hope to God you have a furnace room for Colt Corona.
Sadly, no. Well, we have an under the stairs little like barely you could even fit in there room that Colt Corona could be in. It's next to the furnace. Well, not a furnace, but
I want to live with Colt Corona.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the ideal situation is everyone makes enough money that we can all afford houses close to each other. And like I really want the Red Letter Media lifestyle. Like that's been my personal dream because they all just kind of are a bunch of guys who live in Wisconsin and have a studio and they hang out and they make stuff, you know, like or Game Grumps is essentially the same, but a lot of them like live together and stuff like that or have been in like arranged living situations.
You know, I would love that just for what I was talking about before about, you know, my comics take so long. I would love to work on like little smaller things with people. I think that'd be good.
Well, if I literally had anyone, I would use you constantly. Like if you were around here.
Oh yeah, use me, Digi. Use me.
Well, I would put you in.
I'm yours for the taking.
I would put you in everything because like if I had people that I like my biggest problem is I don't have anyone around who's like interested and talented in the kind of work I do or can do, you know, like because if I had you guys around, I wouldn't stick to just this kind of rigid analysis video type thing that I do, like how me and Jesse have always wanted to do the Plebe and the Weeb, where if we live together we could easily do this like talk show about anime where we play these like eccentric characters. And you know, like the reason that analysis videos are the only thing I can really do is because that's the only thing I can do by myself, you know, or just hiring someone who lives a fucking all the way across the country, you know, to help with. Like if I had someone sitting right next to me and I say, let's film a thing where I'm a character and I'm running around doing something weird in this video, then just having someone who can hold a camera is like a huge opening of doors, you know, kind of like when Nate bought that like nice camera and I was like, you know, you're going to need someone who can just adjust the focus. Cause like you can't adjust the focus on a camera pointed at yourself if it's a nice camera. And that's such a huge limitation that just having someone there who can move the little focus bar, you know, is like such a huge advancement. So that's why I want people around so bad, because like all my friends are totally uninterested, totally unambitious. None of them want to do anything. Not at all interested in YouTube. Victor is starting to get interested because he can't find work and he's kind of getting desperate, which is why he wants to do stuff like he's trying to get that thing he wants to do with you off the ground. The only problem is he has no money to pay you. So
right. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I liked the script, but I can't do it for free.
Right.
I can't do it pro bono. That's just not a viable life
not with the
decision.
amount of time it'd take. Although it is only like a 2-minute thing, but
I mean, I told him it would take me a couple days, and it's true.
I wouldn't do it for free.
I don't know.
I mean,
I can't. I just can't. You just can't do stuff.
I mean,
I'm trying to be a pro
I don't
here.
know how much you would charge him. How much do you think you would charge
maybe
him?
Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly how much work it'll be. Let's say like $250.
Yeah, he doesn't have the money.
Is that high?
I don't think it's high for the for what the job is. It's just that he wouldn't be able to afford it. I could pay. Like,
Okay, I mean, I'm trying to be reasonable. I don't know.
I
exactly,
pay Devu more than that
yeah.
to edit my videos. So, like,
I don't know.
I think if I was
That sounds like a fair
I'm thinking
price.
about it, and I'm like, if I was confident there was going to be a return on that video, I would just pay you and have Victor pay me back through ad revenue. I don't know what kind of
there's
return
no
it would be.
guarantee.
Yeah,
There's
it
no
could have
guarantee
200
of that.
views for all I know, you know. Although I would promote it
Yeah.
if I'm, you know, a producer on it.
Naturally.
But
The producer.
yeah,
I guess that is what you would
Yeah.
be. If you
pretty literally.
funded its creation.
Um,
Yeah. Man, talking about cameras though before reminded me that me and Nate filmed scenes for like 2 of his upcoming Best Guy Evers like 6 and 10 months
yeah,
ago.
I know about that.
And like, oh my god, he was describing the videos to me back then, and they sounded so good. And then he spent 6 months on fucking Undertale, which like came out fine. Don't get me wrong. And then I don't know. And then he did One Punch Man, kind of released. He said he was working on it at like basically the same time. But I wanted those other 2.
Well, he's still working on.
I
them.
wanted the.
He's
I know, but I want
He's
them.
had that, like, he has like a pecking order of when each video is gonna come out, and like they're all set up.
So long ago, like we got one of my friends. We roped one of my friends in to like help us film it, and we promised him that it would come out. And like, I mean, I'm sure he's forgotten about it, but I want to be able to tell him like, hey, Conrad. This guy's also named
I
Conrad.
see.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Conrad, remember that film you made a year ago? Well, here's the YouTube video. I want that for myself.
I can't believe you know 2 Conrads.
It's
I
weird.
don't know any. I've never met another Conrad.
Yeah, I he's more of a friend of a friend. I don't know. He's all right. He's bipolar as fuck. He's cool though. He's got a red beard.
But yeah, all those things I was just saying is also like why I wanted to talk, because like I've always wanted to do a project with you, and like I don't know, I feel really strongly about the artistic abilities of everyone in the Procrastinators, where like I desperately want us all to collaborate, but it has to be the right thing. Like I'm not gonna force
It has to be
like
the
fucking That Guy with the Glasses collab, and like, oh, Ben's in my video because Ben's in my video.
Yeah, just...
You know, it's like, if I'm gonna do something with you, I want it to be something that uses your, like, that will impress people and make them want to go seek you out. You know, like, whoa, who drew this? You know, I want that to be the reaction. Like, if we did the Sword Art Online one, I want people to be like, who did the art for this? They're great. And I can say, here's his Patreon, you know.
Doing the thumbnails and the faces for T-Bap was very satisfying, and I would really like to do that kind of thing again. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that hard. Like the actual I mean, the editing. Honestly, editing the faces in was way harder than drawing them. Like 10 times harder. Yeah, I'd like to be providing. I'd like to provide art to things, and I know you said Victor would use me as an actor. I mean, I don't consider myself to have much acting experience.
Well, it's that he likes writing around you, because the first time we hung out, it was like, because the way you and Nate communicate is like so character-like. Like, you have this very fast, like almost Joss Whedon-esque like back and forth thing going on.
I was thinking about this lately. Like yeah, everyone who liked T-Bap said that like me and Nate's dynamic was like a huge part of it and made it good. And it's like I think it's a waste that me and Nate aren't making anything like that anymore.
I think so too. I was under the impression that was entirely because you just didn't want to be on YouTube though.
I don't know. I mean, we tried to keep it going with T-Bap Plays, but that was such a slog. Right. And we don't want to do T-Bap anymore. So like, what else? I mean, I guess we're on the PCP together, but like, it's
episodic
usually,
anime reaction videos. Every every week,
every
10
week.
new anime come out, you talk about them. Like, I mean, me and Nate and Jeff have been trying to launch like more anime podcasts like ourselves, and just are having such a hard time with like having something we all want to do. Because like when it comes to like what made TBAP work and what made like podcasting about MLP like make any sense is that it came out every week, and so everyone was on the same
Yeah.
page. And like for me, I hate watching current anime. Like I never watch stuff while it's coming out. So like, you know, me and Nate and Jeff, like every new season there's like this big great excuse to talk about all the new shows because they all just started, and we'll watch all the first episodes and we can talk about them. But then I don't keep up with any of them. So like we're always like, oh, what if we did one like 6 weeks later? Like, how'd they all turn out? And I'm like, but then I'd have to watch them all. And I don't want to do that. But I do think that there's like room in the world for that to be a thing. Like people doing episodic podcasts about shit. It's just there's not enough like good people. That's what makes the TPC so great. It's like I feel like I've gathered all the best people here. You know, like we are all here. Who else would we possibly want around, you know?
I like our group. I like our little TPC. And yeah, it's I mean, me and Nate and like any other pairing you could think of. I think if two of us collabed on the right thing, it could be really great. But like, man.
That's why I love getting Jesse into my raps so much, because like I have this.
Rotten was really good, dude. Rotten was real good.
I'm glad you liked it.
I liked it. Yeah.
I don't. Jesse probably doesn't know this, but he is listening to us right now. But
What?
Yeah, Jesse and Devu are both listening to us right now.
Oh, ew!
They came in about like 10 minutes ago, I want to say.
I hate those fuckers so much.
But anyways, I at one point like. Jesse made, I think it was when he made Asshole Boy, where I made like this weird random thing and sent it to him, and he like rapped over it and made a video out of it and patroned it. And I was like, wait a minute, shouldn't I be getting some of that money? I couldn't help but think that. And I've done a few things for Jesse where I've given him like random stuff and he's made videos out of it. And I was like, well, it's fine, because I'm going to eventually get him to do stuff for me too. Like, I want to have, you know, Jesse parts in my videos. And so far, the only time I've ever done it was with the My Little Pony Leap of Faith video, where I got him to do all these cancer jokes, which was fantastic. But like all these years, I've just been like waiting for the day that I have a good Jesse Woods spot to put in my video to mark on Patreon and not give him any of the money, just so I can have payback.
your videos don't really lend themselves to like celebrity or cameos.
That's exactly why, like I said, I want, like, if we all lived together, I could do different kinds of videos that like would, because there's plenty of ways that like again with Red Letter Media, like it makes perfect sense that there's 5 guys in some of those videos, because that's just the type of video it is. But like the stuff I do, like, you know, if you watch the stuff that the collabs I did do back in the Pony days, like with me and Tom, it was always just kind of 2 reviews smushed together, you know, like I talk for a little while, Tom talks for a little while, we both make our points, and that's it. Like with the Leap of Faith video, what made it a good collab, because I had Jesse and Give and Take both in there, and it was like I had this whole segment where I said, this video's too dark, quick, Jesse, make some jokes. And then Jesse comes out and makes these like really dark jokes that were, you know, like not at all lightening up the situation.
I remember that one. I forgot, but I just, it's all coming back to me now.
But that's like the only context I've ever had where throwing some random comedy bit into the video like flowed well and was a good idea. But I mean, I could have, like, if I was making a video about like commercialism or something and I wanted to throw in random advertisements, I'd get everybody to do that. Or like with Nate with the Monster Musume one, like that was genius to have each of us act out like a weird monster creature, and then it just like cuts to those scenes. Like that was great.
I liked that part of the video. I don't think it was a great video overall, though. It was kind of
I
confusing.
I think he made some good points, but I think the audio made that hard to listen to because it was
The audio was
too
terrible.
loud.
Mostly, I just don't care about Monster Musume. I mean, that's really what does it for me.
Right, but I do love I think the monster parts are look fucking hilarious.
I like my little thing where I'm in the bathtub and I just pour a little. That part, I think that's my favorite part. Maybe I'm biased, but I think that's. Like,
I need
bit.
more of that. I need more of the procrastinators in things together, and like.
When you say it like that, I really agree.
Yeah.
I miss being in things. I think I said this the other day. Yeah, I miss being like, I miss having appearances. Yeah. I mean, the PCP is my only outlet for it, and it's good.
Well, I love the PCP because it's given, like, people are starting to understand why we all hang out and like why we're all friends and like that we're all friends. Because like back in the day, when we were calling ourselves the Horseshoe Crew and we did a few podcasts together, but like I felt like not a lot of people were connecting the dots and like putting us together, which led to that hilarious scenario. I'll put a link to this fan art that you drew for me in the description of
the best friends party,
because I was talking about how people would draw my OC character with like all these other famous brony analyst people who like I wasn't friends with at all, and a lot of them I couldn't stand, and they draw us,
and these same people had no idea who Jesse was, even though it was your best friend.
Because there would be tons of art of like OC characters hanging out, and it'd be like me and KP, and like maybe Tom would be there because people knew me and Tom were friends from way back, but like Jesse's like my best friend, and he would never get drawn in anybody's fan art. Like he was always left out of group shots and stuff, and it would kind of piss me off because I'm like, I don't like that I'm being represented this way as like friends with all these people I can't stand, and you know the people who I love aren't even in the pictures, you know.
I really like that. I really like that the PCP has sort of developed its own little community. Yeah. I mean, it's not a big community, but there is definitely a PCP like
there's
fan
a PCP
base
fan club
fandom.
Apparently, which is a little weird.
Oh yeah, I'm curious about that. Like, I want to know what the heck's going on in there. What are they scheming? Are they plotting against us? Are they plotting to take our places? I think so.
Play like double agent for us because I think he's been in there. We could have him feed us the down low on what's going on.
I've considered like secretly joining and like pretending to be just show up and be like, hey fellow PCP listeners, just your run of the mill fan here. What's going on? Oh shit! But now I can't because they'll know it's me if I do that. I'll have to change. I have to change my approach. I like that it's got its own little thing, and I mean people really like Jesse. Like, some of the most positive comments videos ever got were about the editing on the one that Jesse
It's come
made.
around so much.
People loved that
when we started PCP, like, we got a lot of, like, comments that were like, kick Jesse off and stuff like that. And then we, like...
Wait, we did?
Yeah, no, at first people were like Jesse was the one who people were having like the most negative reaction to until the first time he edited one, and then everyone like completely flipped, like was like Jesse's the best guy on the podcast. Like it totally changed the perception of him, and like now people love him, and which is all I've ever wanted, is that people will look at our whole group and appreciate that we all think each other are great, like because that's the basis of this group, is that we were all like. We all like each other's content, and like I think to me that's the glue that holds it together, is like enjoying one another's stuff, and the fact that we're all very brutal towards each other about like how we feel about each other's work, and like you know, show like I can show up and like Nate wants to like knows he has to work faster because he looks at me and he's like, how am I not making as much money or getting as much views as Digi, and it makes him mad, you know, and then he works faster. And I look at Jesse and I'm like, my videos don't have enough personality, I don't have enough character, and so then I get mad and make 1,000 vlogs, you know, and like so I think we have that feeding off of each other because we all look at each other's work and think, I need to be as successful or I need to be as good as him, you know? So like it puts us in combat too, like in combat, but none of us hates the other guy. None of us is like, oh god, like it would be different if someone was in here who like was making shit tons of money and we all thought that their content was garbage. Then we would be like, okay, get the fuck out of here, you know.
I wish that I felt more of a hot-blooded rivalry with either Tom or Mage. Unfortunately, I really don't.
Right. I think Tom's starting to feel it towards you.
I need a hot-blooded rival of my own. God damn it!
Tom's jealousy over your skill has started to make him like more like really. He sent me this really long message yesterday, like basically asking about like for advice on whether he should be trying to quit YouTube or not, and like where he should be going.
Okay.
On the basis of realizing that he's just no you. Like, he's like, I'm no Ben. I'll never be as fast as Ben and as cool as Ben. So what do I have to
do? I feel so slow, you know? Like, I look at the, like, that post I made the other day of all the pages I did this month. I mean, it looks like a lot when you put them all together, but, like, it's less than a page a day, and they're only rough. Right. They're not even finished.
Well, it really depends on who you're comparing yourself to, because you're comparing yourself to fucking Bakuman and to the Japanese, where... Like
I do, I compare myself to the Japanese all the time, like, which is not so. I don't understand why like Western creators just don't produce at this prodigious rate. Like, if it's possible, why aren't they doing it?
It's just that the Japanese are like have a very different mindset about work. Like I think that in Japan, work is seen as like a duty that you must do, and in America, I think work is seen as something that you force yourself to do, you know, like I think the general cultural idea of work is that it's not fun. And that's why so many people want to be artists and like to do something that, you know, or to be famous, less artist, more famous. People want to be famous because they see it as like a fun, easy version of work, you know, getting paid to do nothing, which is not what it is. But that's how people see it, and that's why we idolize fame in our culture so much. Whereas in Japan, they really don't idolize fame; they idolize hard work, you know.
But like Brian Lee O'Malley is a world class, you know, comic maker, and it took him, you know, he made 6 books in like 6 years. That's like, you know, maybe a page every day or every other day or something.
Yeah, I guess every other day.
Eiichiro, yeah, like. I mean, less than a page a day. Eiichiro Oda makes fucking, like, 30 pages a week.
Well, Oda makes 20 pages a week, and I'm
here?
sure he has a team of assistants.
He does. I mean, Brian had assistants, but, like, Oda probably made more extensive use of his, like, team of assistants. I don't know. I've been in a rut lately. I'm trying to get to a place where, like, the next panel, like, I have the next page and the next panel, just like I know it in my mind, and I just like I can just like slam it out. Like, I know what it's supposed to look like, and I just do it. But like these past couple days, I've sort of been in a rut because like I'm sort of on a bit of like exposition-y bit that's like it's not really the point, but it's necessary to set up the point, and it's not. I'm just not as invested in it as I am in like the beginning and the end. I don't know. Hopefully that won't mean that it's going to be boring when it comes out, but I'm trying my best. Yeah, it's been got a little art block, got a little bit of an artist block going right now. That's why I'm here doing this instead of drawing.
I mean, obviously I'm in a fairly similar position. I have a lot of ideas of things that could be the June month videos, but none that I'm like jumping on right now. You know, they all kind of feel like maybe that one, but it's hard to force yourself. How do you feel about that? Do you have a hard time like forcing yourself to do something that you're like? For me, I have to be like enthusiastic about the video, you know, in order to write it. Like if I have like a long list of like video ideas that are great ideas that like I'm just not up for writing yet, and like the idea of like making myself write one just because I know it's a good idea is so unattractive. Do you have that?
Yeah. I'm no good at getting myself to draw like the best days I ever have are the days where I wake up and start drawing immediately, but I can never do that. Like, my motivation is low in the mornings. Like, my motivation increases as the day goes on, always, because, like, the less time I have left in the day, the more urgently I feel like I need to get something done. But, yeah, I can't. I'm really terrible at forcing myself. I have no discipline. I pretty much just have to, like, wait. I pretty much just have to wait for some bit of, like, enthusiasm, or at the very least, a bit of, like, less lethargy than usual. I kind of have to, like, wait for the time, and then I can feel it's like, now. I feel like drawing might be bearable now. I have to do it now, or else I'll miss this golden opportunity.
Do you ever have, like, do you have any traps that you set for yourself, or techniques for psyching yourself up? Like Devu, I know, is pretty good at this, where he'll set weird alarms.
Devu told me
one
the other day.
Yeah.
The other day, Devu mentioned that he, like, puts up a timer, and, like, every time he accomplishes something, he resets the timer.
Like every time he does a certain.
And I actually started that. Like, yesterday, I opened up a little timer app, and I've just had it going. Oh God, what's it at now? 22 hours. Oh, fuck. 22 and a half hours. No. No, fuck you, Devu. You fucked me.
I'm like
you fucked me.
For me, there's like a lot of I would say I'm relatively bad at like those kind of things, because they're self-imposed, and it's so easy for me to go, yeah, but fuck it, you know. Like, I'm the type of guy who will set myself an alarm, and then, like, when the alarm goes off, I'll turn it off and go back to bed, or go back to whatever I was doing before, because I'm just like, yeah, I have the control here, and tomorrow's another day, you know. But
I'm the same about alarms.
Yeah.
But I like this timer thing because it's passive, and, like, all it does is, like, add an additional stressor onto,
remind
like,
you how shitty
the kind
you
of
are.
passive urgency. Yeah. So it's I mean, I think it might be helping a little bit. I don't know.
It sounds
I kind of
cool.
just started using it, but I like it.
Maybe I should try it for this fucking videos I'm trying to do this month. I'm a lot more into, like, weird superstitions. Like, for me, because I like the whole, like, June is going to be the month, you know? And so it's like, leading up to June starting, I made sure to get anything, like, any unfinished work I had to be done by then. Like, the biggest one was Digibros. Like, I forced Victor for us to finish the Dark Souls 3 Let's Play so that it would be done, and then the entire month of June I wouldn't have to worry about Let's Plays, you know. Ironically, I've then recorded a commentary and a podcast immediately. But like, I like that, like, clean my plate, and now here's the set time, and, like, let's do it. Let's put everything into this one thing we're about to do, you know. Do you ever have those kind of almost superstitious feelings, like, I have to get it done on Friday, because if it's before the weekend, then I know I did it, you know?
I have been weirdly... I mean, not like the last day or two, but for the last couple weeks, I have been weirdly good about getting a page done a day. Like, just, like, not, like, no matter how long it takes, I just don't go to bed until I get something done. I get a page sketched that day, which is why I have, like, you know, 20-something done for the month. And, it's not an optimal workflow. Like, I'm basically just slacking off all day and then rushing it done at the very end, but, like, hey, I mean, at least it's getting done, right? So yeah, kinda. It's not exactly a superstition.
I've got a system to propose for you. This is how I finished my NaNoWriMo novel back in 2010. You know about NaNoWriMo, right?
I'm aware of NaNoWriMo.
So it's the
National Write a Novel Month.
Novel writing, but it's the month of November every year, and the goal is to write a 50,000 word novel within the month of November. And in order to do that, you have to write 1,667 words a day, which for some people sounds way high. For people like me, doesn't sound very high. I can crank that out pretty easily, but it's a lot harder with fiction. And
I think I would have a really hard time.
Yeah, the website, because there's a lot of, like, participatory tools on the website. There's, like, you know, an extensive forum, lots of little things it'll give you to, like, try to motivate yourself. But the biggest one is that you plug in your word count at the end of each day, and you know it keeps like a graph of how you're doing, and like it tells you how many words you have to do to catch up, or like, you know, keeps track of how you're doing and stuff like that. So when I did it in 2010, I was like, the first 2 days I think I wrote like 5,000 words a day, so I was like way ahead of schedule. And then I didn't write, like I think I had 26,000 words at the end, like within 2 weeks, and then I just stopped writing for the entire rest of the month. And then on the very last day, I was like, I'm gonna try to do this. I have 24,000 words, so the goal is write 1,000 words an hour.
How long did it take you to write 24,000 words?
Like the first 2 weeks of the month, I wrote the first 24,000, and then the last day of the month, I wrote the entire rest of it. So what I did was I said there's 24 hours in the day, so I have to write 1,000 words per hour. Anytime I have, like, if I finish before the hour is over, then I get to do something other than write for the rest of the hour. But then once the next hour starts, I have to get back to writing. If I write 2,000 words before the hour is over, then I get the next hour off. So starting from midnight, I wrote 1,000 words each hour for like 6 hours, and then I wrote like 2,000, and then went and ate lunch during the next hour, and then I, you know, would just I think at one point I had 20 minutes left in an hour, and I took a nap for those 20 minutes, set an alarm to wake me up as soon as the next hour started, and I wrote 24,000 words in a day. It was a fucking nightmare.
That's fucked up, man. That sounds like... All right. I know I wouldn't be able to do NaNoWriMo because, like, here's been my process lately. I visualize what's going to happen on the next page, and I can draw it, and sometimes there's a little bit of struggle, but, like, it's usually relatively easy, especially if it's just, like, characters talking or something. Like, I can draw the page in, like, an hour, but then I'll spend hours thinking about what they're saying. Like, the words, like, choosing the words is so much harder. I hope I get better at it, because it's been a real I feel
like
drag,
that's
honestly.
the opposite problem Tom has. Like, he seems to be naturally good at writing, and then, like, he second guesses.
He considers himself more of a writer, I think.
And he second guesses everything he does as an artist. Like,
yeah, I was talking to Nate the other day, and we both agreed, his art is professional looking. Like, the stuff he's put out on Sorceress Lost, like, it looks as good as it needs to. Like, he knows what looks good. It's only that he's not getting it out fast enough.
See,
that is the
maybe
the
you had
error.
the same reaction I did, but like when you guys did the drawcast, like, everything he drew looked fine. Like, it looked perfectly fine. Yeah. And I was like, you drew that in 15 minutes. Some of them he had colored, you know? And I was like, clearly you can draw fast. It's just that you want it to be perfect, you know?
He's got... It's... Doing Brunswick really helped me, because, like, I didn't care that much about how it looked. I just wanted to get it done. And it was gonna look how it was gonna look. So, like, I wouldn't sketch ahead of time. I would just draw, like, a face, and just, like, there it is. That's how it looks. No correction. And, like, it came out fine.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm trying not to worry about, like, planning it out in my head. Like, I'll draw a face, and, like, that's how it looks. And if it's totally wrong, I'll do it again. But, like, I just do it.
I think for me...
I've been trying to do that
Like, what appeals to me is, like, all in the composition, really. Like, it's kind of like a... Kill La Kill, when people say that show, like, is, like, badly animated or something like that, or, like, that it doesn't look good.
Fucking
and it's
assholes that think that it doesn't look good. I'll kill them.
You know, I'll watch something like Snow White, or like an old Disney movie or something, and like everything's moving constantly, but none of it is memorable. Like, no one image is memorable. Whereas, like, in Kill La Kill, sometimes it'll just be like a sliding still shot, but the composition is so strong that it really sticks with you.
It's funny, and it's like funny, and it's good. Like, it's like it wasn't hard to do, but it looks good the way they did it. I hate it when people complain about those shots. I remember there was one guy who made a video where he
Demo,
talked about
that fucking idiot Demo.
Wait, did Demo say that about Kill la Kill?
Demo
Kill
complained
him.
about the scene where the guy flies back off the podium and like.
Yes, and he was so fucking
right,
wrong.
that scene is hilarious.
No one's ever been more wrong.
I'm with you.
God
I told
damn
him
it.
that too.
I hate
conversation.
Good. I'm glad. Wait, I was gonna say Prince and the Pauper. You ever seen that movie? It was like unfinished.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing doesn't exist. Yeah, it was it was hand animated at 60 frames per second, and it's all big and fancy. It looks terrible.
Parts of
like,
it look.
It's creepy.
I
looking.
think parts of it look really cool, but like.
Okay, there are impressive
I actually think
parts,
some of the
like,
best looking parts.
The visual direction is not attractive in much of the
I actually think some of the best looking parts are the unfinished parts when it's just like black and white compositions and stuff, and like some of that looks cooler than the actual finished stuff.
The part where he's running around in like a big tile maze and like there's weird like visual illusions going on, that part's pretty cool, but like it just looks gross half the time. All this is to say that like being technically advanced and like having a high frame count and stuff is so not the point.
Right. And like
Scott Pilgrim looks way better than like,
I think like
your typical like
the ending of Brunswick
comic
like
book.
What made it so work was just simply the amount of black on the page. That was like all it took to make that ending like look like feel so dark and dramatic, just because it was like suddenly the whole page is black and you've just got like little flames on there, and I was like, oh man, this feels fucking intense,
Oh, you mean like when it's in Claire's cave?
That area, like.
Yeah, I did go heavier on the detail at the end because I wanted it to feel really like, I don't know, dramatic or whatever.
Well, I just mean like I don't mean that the detail made it like more dramatic. Just the fact that it was so dark, like it, that made it. Yeah, like it wasn't that you had to draw.
That was intentional. I meant for like that scene is supposed to be darker in tone and also like just. I mean, it's in a cave.
Like that,
I don't know.
I think that is so much more creative than trying to like you said with the guy who drew the super photorealistic like monkey screaming or whatever. Like, if you want to make an intense picture of a monkey screaming, it could be fucking scribbles as long as the composition makes it look intense.
Yeah, it's like high fidelity renderings are not. I feel like. I mean, it's the 80-20 rule, right? Like, you get 80% of the benefit out of the first 20% of the effort. So, like, just draw a simple thing and get that 80 out of the 20 and move on. That's what I want to do with my work. Like, the early part of Brunswick, it's all outside, so it's all, like, white and light, and the backgrounds are pretty simple. And then he goes into the cave, and then he's in the Claire place, and it's all very dark and fiery. And
it has this, like, descent feeling to it, which is effective for the narrative of it, the emotional stakes growing.
I guess that was semi-intentional. That scene of the two Dragonaires coming out of the lava is like the best thing I've ever made.
That's fucking awesome.
I love that panel. Someone messaged. I'm going back to Tom. I don't know why, but it's interesting. Someone messaged Tom about me, and like he retweeted the post, and he said like, "This is not how you encourage an artist." I guess he didn't approve of the tone of the tweet, and I feel bad calling out this guy because he's obviously a big fan of mine. But yeah, this guy he made a really dumb comment, and he was like, I know you're no Ben Saint or anything, but you're still okay. You might even be better than me. Like talking about himself,
dick.
And like I went and looked at this guy's DeviantArt, and like this guy is he's a fucking amateur. His stuff's not great. Like yeah, obviously Tom is way better than this guy. But yeah, I was taken aback. I mean, obviously this guy was like a big this guy's commented on my other tweets. I mean, this guy really thinks I'm hot shit, and like he's obviously correct about that. But like in particular, this guy is a fan of me, so that the guy said that I'm like that. This guy thought that Tom wasn't as good as me. I mean that's this guy's opinion. I don't know. Like when you said that Tom messaged you about that, like I wonder if it was brought about by this one commenter, because like
well, I think
I don't know. I felt like it
Tom
got under his skin because he tweeted
Tom's
it.
very
stuff.
down on his own art, and I do think that because your stuff is so like emotionally strong so quickly that it has more strength to it. Like I don't know. I'm a big fan of your art style in particular. Like I really appreciate Tom's art, and I feel like if someone was a fan of his art style, then it would be like great. But I personally am not as big a fan of just like the way he draws things. Like he has that very like everything's about those variable line widths and everything, and like these very I don't know how to describe his character.
Yeah, Tom
designs.
has like
they're very different.
They're
Yours has more of that anime dynamism, One Piece, everything just looks cool and slick kind of feel,
I don't know how I do that, but I'm just so good. I'm just such a genius.
I definitely think you've got some touch of genius. You seem to be too good for the amount of effort you've put in.
I agree. No, that's true. I am too good for the amount of effort I've been drawing seriously for like 3 years. And I feel like my stuff is like
way above the level.
I feel like my stuff is near the professional level.
I think that good. The Vapors, I think in terms of everything to do with the art, the craft of it, I think it should be professional, considered professional. Like I can understand why.
I don't know about that. I feel like some of the pages are a little cramped and crowded, and I feel like some of my layouts are not perfect.
Have you ever read any original English language manga like that Tokyo Pop used to publish?
Maybe like a little bit.
You're better
so, I don't
than
really remember
most of those. Like there was a sort of wave in the late 2000s of like English language manga, which is interesting because like it
like you can. It's so annoying that you can tell it's not Japanese. Well, like it not just any in particular. It annoys me that it is possible to look at like a manga and be like, clearly this is not Japanese. Like it bothers me that is the reality.
Well, here's
we
the
live
thing.
In. But
there's a guy called Ogiwe Maniacs who wrote a fantastic post about this way back in the day.
I think I have read it. Is it about the use of tone?
How it's like.
And about how Western manga overused tone.
Yeah, they all use tones because they make it look
article.
like anime as opposed to like manga. Whereas manga is usually very simple shading and stuff and not using tones much at all. Whereas like...
I think I somewhat overused tone. I mean, I had read that article before I did the Vapors, and I tried to keep it in mind and not overuse them that much. I think I did go overboard with them in certain places.
I don't know. Like, looking at the Vapors... I would immediately know that it's not Japanese, but I would not consider that a problem.
Yeah.
And, like, this is speaking personally...
I mean, I wasn't going for Japanese
Like, speaking
looking.
personally, I am disgusted with the OEL look, the overtoned, like, shit. Like, that... When I see, like, American comics that are trying to look Japanese and failing, I have, like, a visceral, like, wanna vomit reaction kind of thing. Like it just looks wrong to me. And so the fact that your art doesn't look that way, where like you clearly had Japanese influence and yet it felt like a good comic in like a distinct art style, I was like, kind of like Scott Pilgrim, like you said, where
I definitely was not trying to make it look like manga. I wasn't like going for manga. I don't know. I just drew it however it seemed right to me, and I didn't worry about it. And I think my style, as I've come to understand it, emerged in the Vapors, like with drawing the Vapors. Like my style didn't exist before that, but now it does, and it looks like that. It's a miracle.
Well, I definitely hope to see as much more shit from you as possible. Like, on the one hand, I know you feel like you work slow, and the first chapter of The Vapors did take forever. Like, I forget I often forget how long you were
ungodly
working
amount
on
of
that,
time.
because it was pretty much from the time TBAP ended until the day it came out, like, was the amount of time you worked on it, right? Or
Yeah, it took me like I started doing it in. I mean, I was thinking about doing it for a long time. I think I kind of started actually drawing it in like May or June. Right. So like from when I first put pen to paper, it took me about 6 months. Yeah. Which is just stupid.
But like
unreasonable.
What's great about it is that even though I know you feel like you work slow and like your stories feel small, now that you've kind of gotten up to like this, I think you're gonna get a chapter probably once every month or two. Like Brunswick took like a month.
I feel like I could do. Yeah, Brunswick took me a month, but as I say, I really deliberately rushed it, even though I think it came out good, and also the pages were only half size. Yeah.
Like I'm excited.
I mean, I've gotten 20-something pages sketched in a month. I think.
I'm excited at the idea that like even though it feels slow and small now, like if you were making a chapter every 2 months, then at the end of the year you'll have 6 chapters, and it will feel way more substantial to look at all of them at once. You know, so like, I think it won't be too long before you have more of a catalog, and I'd like to see personal request. Make more even smaller stuff, because like I said,
like Brunswick small. Or even
like
smaller?
Even if it's just like 2 pages, like just fun little random shit that like will more flesh out the idea of like Ben Saint has all this stuff he does.
I was thinking about making autobio comics, not like the stupid fucking like gag, like here's my life, I'm so quirky. I kind of hate autobio comics like on principle, but I was thinking about making some kind of because like I was saying like hours ago in this podcast, like I feel like people don't really know me except through my comics, so I was thinking of making some that like actually try and show a little bit about who I am. I think I could make some okay ones, and they would probably only be like fucking White Lion. White Lion is an autobio comic. It's only sort of about me. I'm more of an observer to just this.
It's great though, because the situation is so fucking weird.
It's
so
weird,
the guy
right?
led you like to make sure I understand. He asked you if you were gay, and you said no.
No, he didn't ask me if I was gay. He invited me to a club, and I asked him if he was gay and hitting on me, and he said I'm bi, but I have a girlfriend.
But then he did
Don't
lead
worry.
you
and
to a gay bar.
Cool.
In the end,
I don't know if it was a gay bar, but it was entirely filled with men. There were a lot of men there. It didn't really look like I depicted in the comic, but like the idea is the same. Was his
tattoo actually a One Piece thing? Like,
he did not have a tattoo. He had, or he might have, but like I didn't include that. He was just wearing like a canvas jacket and like this weird mesh shirt.
Right.
And the White Lion thing. Wait, I forget. Does he say in the comic that he wants to be the White Lion Pirates?
That's what he says. Like,
yeah, because we talked about the real conversation was longer than what's depicted in the comic, and like we talked about One Piece, and like he did I did ask him if he liked One Piece, and he did basically tell me that he's a huge One Piece fan, and obviously that's where his like thing about making a family and sailing the seas came from.
I think in the comic you gave him a tattoo though of a White Lion thing.
No, I don't think so. At the end, I show like a flag that like is like this is what the flag might have looked like.
Hold on, I have to go look now because I'm wondering why I remember that wrong. It's Saint Comics.
SaintComics.com, Patreon.com.
Anybody who wasn't clear on what you need to do, you need to type Saint Comics with an X, COMIX.
You can type it with a CS and it will correct itself.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes, fancy, right?
Yeah, he's got a One Piece tattoo on his leg. It's like the Jolly Roger.
Oh, you're right. I forgot, and I don't think he really had one. Oh, yes. I remember. Yeah, he didn't really have that, but I didn't want to go and like have us have like a whole conversation about it. So I thought I would just give him that One Piece tattoo to make it really obvious that he's a One Piece fan.
Which is a great idea, but it gave me pause to be like, wait, you really met a random guy who had a One Piece tattoo, you know? Like, I was surprised to learn that. I mean, it's still surprising, even the true story, that he wanted to fucking live the pirate life. Like, that's still fucking amazing to me.
Well, he was a big fan and he had tattoos, so I don't think I didn't stretch the reality too much when I did that. It's still basically the same idea. Oh man, this scene of us walking up the stairs out of the subway just looks fucking great. It's so dingy.
Yeah, I love how like the art style for that is very different from your current stuff, but I also really like it too. Like, I like that more rugged look.
This was when I was in the grip of my of Bakuman and was like determined that I should be a traditional manga guy and draw everything traditionally with, you know, pens. So yeah, I did these with. I don't think I used a nib pen because I was like too terrified of like dripping ink because it had happened many times before and I can't control it. So yeah, I did these with micron pens, which are like, I don't know.
I can't
stupid.
remember if I said this to you at the time that this came out, but like it actually reminded me of a style that, like, when there was a brief period that I wanted to try to draw comics, like I was just because I always draw in just pens, like not like artist pens, just regular pens, and I had like fountain pens and stuff, and I just wanted to like draw a story about like someone going underground and like exploring this underground society. So almost everything was just like blackened pen ink, like just whole pages of just black with like barely any white space, you know?
Is that the same as Shovel Rock?
No, totally different. This was like way before.
Totally different story about digging into the ground and finding an underground civilization. This one wasn't
about digging down. This one was just like I think actually the main character went down into a pond and like he kept going deeper underwater and then eventually was in an underground city kind of thing. Like I don't know. I'm really fascinated with the idea of underground cities. So like I'm a big fan of the concept. But
I don't think I've ever heard you talk about underground cities before. I mean, I've heard you talk about like sci-fi dystopias. I don't talk much.
I've only got into sci-fi in the last 3 years, like, or 4 years after playing Mass Effect. Like, back when I was trying to write my own stuff, like the style that I was into was totally different. And like, I'm really into dense urban cities and like any kind of weird hidden like village place, like if there's like a village in the trees or a village underground, like those kind of things where it's like I like the idea of stumbling into something much bigger, because I like to think that the world is super super dense with shit. Like this is kind of, I know this is supposed to be an interview with you, but to get into a little story of when I was like 18 or 17, I graduated high school and my uncle like sent me a book on bicycling and like this whole note, like this letter he wrote about how like I should go out and like bike around the country and see the world and not be cooped up in my room and all this stuff, you know, like essentially projecting his own regrets about when he was my age onto me, kind of thing, you know. But the guy, this uncle doesn't really know me that well. Like we hadn't spoken a lot, so it was kind of out of nowhere. And the way I thought about it at the time is, I'm not like discontent to have not seen a whole lot of the world. Like I think a lot of people feel like they have this really limited perspective because they've been in one place. But for me, I'm interested in like the little details of places. Like I can go to like some like random place in town that I haven't been to before, and like the fact that there's a dumpster I didn't know about will like blow my mind, you know. So I've always imagined like writing stories about like a version of Virginia Beach where there's way more going on than what seems to be the case, you know. So like that, like this random, like Durarara, kind of, yeah. I mean, that was a huge influence on me. It was like Bakano, Durarara, and all the stories of that nature. Like all the early light novels were a huge influence on me. But like, it would be partly like Durarara, where it's like you're in the city, and I wanted to present both the idea that the stuff we do know about is more interesting than people realize, like that.
I feel like like this, people have told me that I should talk more about my life, and like I don't find it interesting at all. But like I know that other people can find my stories interesting because they don't know them. Like to them, it's not old news. To me, it's all old news, which is why I don't know. I'm not usually inclined to bring it up, but I don't know. That's good.
But yeah, I just I don't remember what I was talking about or why. That was a weird interruption.
You were talking about
you threw off what I was thinking.
Yeah, it was. I really got to apologize for that bullshit. You were talking about Durarara and the idea of a Virginia Beach that's just more dense
the idea
with
that
shit.
like you could turn over a rock and fall down a hole, and it turns out that there's this whole other thing going on that's like as deep and dense as what you thought your society was, but you didn't even know it was there, you know. But then at the same time, because I feel like there's a lot of stories where it's like, this town is boring, and then you find out there's a secret society. Oh, turns out this town's interesting. I wanted to present it like this town is already interesting, and then also there's this whole other big thing going on. Like there's just so much. Like I wanted it to be as much stuff going on in one small area as possible. And so like a lot of my older stories are like that. They're always like about a city or about like a place where there's just so much shit going on.
I wrote some erotic Pokemon fanfiction one time. Yeah,
excellent.
I think we were talking about this in the chat, and I remembered that I had written this thing like in high school, and I went and I looked it up, and like it's still floating around there, getting reviews every now and then. It's on like a couple different sites.
I wish that was still true of my old Tales of Symphonia erotica, but it's all lost to the fucking void.
Yeah, it's let's say no more about that.
All right, we've been doing this podcast for over 3 hours. I think we should wrap it up.
Oh fuck. Oh god, no, there's so much more to say. Well, let me just make the note on the subject of getting faster that these 5 pages of White Lion took me like
Jesus.
a month. Back when they took me so. I mean, it was a combination of not having an audience and therefore not having any motivation, combined with having no confidence, especially in like the tools I was using, because these fucking pens are a piece of shit. Fucking ink, physical media. I hate it. I'm totally digital now. I'm so much better with digital. It's insane. Like I try to sketch something with a pencil and it's just garbage. My tablet is where it's at. Yes, I just wanted to make a note of that.
Was there any other notes you wanted to make before we wrap up? Anything that people should know?
Patreon.com/BenSaint.
All right. Well, now, you have a solid little artist bio podcast out there that if anybody wants to know more about Ben Saint's art or like who he is as a person, you can link them this, maybe get a little insight.
Yes, finally. I'll probably link this on as a Patreon post, but like a public one that everyone can see.
It's funny. I think most people love interviews with their favorite artists. I doubt almost anybody gets one this fucking long because I'm the only guy who would do a 3-hour interview with somebody.
This is a very digi thing to do. Just like, hey, here's someone that hasn't said very much. Let's just delve as deep into them as possible. But I appreciate it. I've been looking for an outlet of this
back
sort.
when I was trying to do a magazine. This is related to what I was just describing about Virginia Beach. I had a magazine I was trying to write called the Virginia Beach Hermit Society, where it was basically a magazine about the town, and like half the stories would be real and half would be fictional kind of thing. And I had a section called Interviews with Friends, where it was literally just me interviewing my friends who are not creative or anything or doing anything. It's just like, what are you up to? And like,
yeah. What are you up to, John? Steve?
Pretty much.
An interview with Steve. An afternoon in Steve's
So this is like the far extreme version of that.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go give Ben Saint money on Patreon so that he can make comics faster
yeah,
and better.
I'm in financial free
Yeah.
fall.
save his life, and if you have money to spare,
Save my
give it to
life.
me too. And that's it.
I'm like, just picture me like a Shield Knight, and you're like Shovel Knight. Like by patroning me, you're like Shovel Knight, just like leaping to grasp
him.
me. Catch
Yes,
him,
catch
please.
Ben. All right, that's all.
Good night, everybody.